competitive drive. It's the fuel that transforms a driver into a racer.
Igor Fraga wins the Nations Cup final!
But once you crank up the competitiveness, tension and expectation also come along for the ride. With a historically competitive field, the 2019 Gran Turismo World Tour has been the intersection where race strategy met mind games.
He is devastated following that race.
Tactics collided with controversy and rivalries ignited.
Fraga slowed down over the top.
Fraga going for the inside line.
Here comes Mirzano, oh the block!
Oh no! Big contact there! Lopez very defensive. Lukowski nearly spins. He loses out. Fraga tries the long way round. Big drama!
The season so far has been nothing short of spectacular, with the Nations Cup World Final here in Monaco set to be the ultimate confirmation of either averageness or excellence. The rain continues here in Monaco, creating a little bit less Grand Prix vibes and more Rallye Monte Carlo. But that didn't stop us from coming to one of the most globally recognised F1 circuits. You know, a place where Hamilton and Schumacher have sped around at speeds of over 190 kilometres per hour. It's pretty cool. This is the FIA certified Gran Turismo Championships Nations Cup Finals. And it's been a long and windy road to get to this stage, but we now have the top 12 drivers in the world who fought tooth and nail to get their shot at the title. And if you missed the incredible semi-finals on Friday, here's Tom and Jimmy with a recap.
We've just finished the Nations Cup action here for the semi-finals on Friday in Monaco. Oh, Jimmy Broadbent, I think we've just about gotten our breath back from that. I mean, where do we even start?
Fair to say, I think eventful was that. And I think we should start with, well, we'll go in chronological order, shall we? Igor Fraga, the big story. Our Nations Cup champion, out already.
Yeah, I was just talking to one of the lads actually just after the broadcast, and he said he was pretty much in tears after he was talking to him there. So disappointment, a spin at the first corner, put him out of contention, and it was just sort of downhill from there, really. It triggered a proper chain of events for him that he never really recovered from.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just him that was unfortunate. Unfortunately, Ryoto Kokubun, of course, our winner from last time out in Tokyo, suffered a similar fate, this time I think with a bit of help from other drivers, but put himself on the gravel trap with a bit of an audacious move, I think, round the outside, and ended up finishing, I think it was P11 in the end, in his race, and again, he goes no further.
Yeah, two drivers, two big names, two World Tour winners this year, all out of it.
But it wasn't all bad. Though.
No.
You know, there were some great stories, and my favourite, personally, was Danny Solis. Because, no, I've said it a few times now, I'll say it once more. When we first met him, he was pretty bad on the wheel. He, like, compared to the gamepad skills, he just wasn't there. And yet here he is at the World Final, on merit, going through to the grand final.
Yeah, exactly. He should have confidence radiating from him, but typically of Danny Solis, humble in the way that he was, even afterwards he said, you know, I'm just really disappointed for Andrew, to be honest with you. On the other side of the coin there as well, Coque Lopez, what can we say about that man? He's never competed in a repechage up until this weekend. Goes into this Nations Cup one, ends up in the repechage, last on the grid, bangs it into third, job done.
I think he's just had enough of you calling him an illy man. You know what, I'm going to get third this time, but as I said before, you don't do that with luck, you know, and he did that with, there was no contact on the way through, it was clean, he made the most of other people's mistakes and just really showed why he's here all the time. And someone asked me the other day, has he peaked? No, we've got more from him yet.
I definitely think with Coque Lopez, he is one of those drivers we've yet to see the best of him. It's going to be exciting to see how he gets on. We're looking forward then to all the Nations Cup grand final action.
This is what went down on Friday. So originally started off with 36 drivers for our semi-finals. They were split into 3 different groups, A, B and C, for our semi-finals. Top 3 from each group would automatically move through to our grand final today. Positions 4 to 7 will then get their last chance in the repechage. Unfortunately, 8 through to 12, that's their story over. They are out of the Nations Cup. The repechage then, the top 3 drivers move forward to the final, and the remaining drivers, unfortunately again, they are eliminated. That is their Nations Cup journey over. That's how we've got our final 12, and they really are the best of the best in the world. And that's what brings us through to Sunday, to today. We're going to see in a few minutes our top 12 qualifying. The positions for that will set the positions on the grid for the first race. We have 3 races plus 1 grand final, obviously with points being awarded based on their position. Grand final is double the points. That can really shake things up in the final moment. And of course, whoever has the most points wins and becomes our Nations Cup World Champion. We want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts using the hashtag below and who you think is going to be our Michelin driver of the day. Lamborghini fans, hold tight because we have that humongous Lambo reveal a little bit later on. You do not want to miss that. Well, it's kind of the beginning of the end now of the GT Championships. I feel a little bit sad, but very excited for today because you know what? We've seen some incredible moments and some humongous drama and rivalries over the course of this entire championships, but none of that really matters now because it all comes down to how they perform today. This is their last chance to prove to the world what they're made of and be crowned the Nations Cup champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Monaco for the Nations Cup World Finals. We're live in 7 different languages across the world here tonight. You can see our Spanish commentators there, the French guys, Donald and Fabian. Here's the Germans, Mikkel and Florian. And all the other languages here as well as us in English. It is going to be hugely exciting to see how we fare tonight. And we also have a certain Formula 1 driver here. Max Verstappen for the Aston Martin Rebel Racing Team is in tonight. He's in the house, ready to watch the Nations Cup action. I think he's going to enjoy it, you know.
Well, he knows where the action's at, doesn't he? He's come along to watch what will probably be one of the most amazing shows we've ever put on. So much racing coming your way today. Frankly, I want to get into it.
It's going to be exciting, isn't it? Let's take a look, shall we, at the 12 drivers we've got competing in the World Final for the Nations Cup. So Mikhail Hazal, Cody Nikola Lukovsky, Takuma Miyazono, Giorgio Mangano, Baptiste Beauvoir, Jonathan Wong, Ryan de Rouge, Nicolas Rubelar, Patrick Blajan, Danny Solis, Salvatore Maraglino, and Coque Lopez snuck in there into the top 12. So those are our 12 grand finalists for the World Finals for the Nations Cup. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Take a closer look at the circuit we're going to be competing on for the top 12 time attack qualifying session here tonight, because it is a track that really needs no introduction. The Autodromo Nazionale Monza, based in Italy, a historic circuit, of course, in the world, in Italy, in Formula 1. The Retropino chicane, the Della Roggia chicane, the Lesmos, the Ascari chicane, and also the Parabolica making up that lap. This is going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I think I'll just stick to calling it Monza. The full name's a bit of a mouthful. But qualifier is getting underway now. Of course, our drivers have to master the circuit if they have any hope of being on pole for the first race today.
It's only a 5-minute qualifying session for these drivers. They'll get 2 fast laps in this session. Now, here is Coque Lopez. He, of course, just snuck in, as we said, into the top 12 following the repechage race on Friday evening. Finished 3rd in the repechage, as you can see there, and it was a meteoric drive from the Spaniard. Started at the back of the grid in that repechage race, fought his way through in the Group B cars at Laguna Seca. He's here tonight in the World Final. Now, these drivers, of course, in the Group 2 machinery, not something we're used to seeing within the GT World Tour in 2019, but great to have them out. And this Nissan GTR, it's a fair bit of a handful.
Yeah, I mean, the way I describe this car is a touring car just on steroids. So much downforce, so much power. Rear-wheel drive, of course, and no traction control. Well, traction control is there if you want to use it, but I can tell you these drivers will not be. Now, especially coming out of the first chicane, easing the power out of there. Very easy to loop it if you're being a little bit too enthusiastic. Right now, watching Patrick Blajan, you can see the force putting into the brake pedal, then lift him up in his seat as he hit the brake. Same with Nico Rubelar, the nose dipping there as we come into the first chicane for the first time. Now, the drivers have been spaced out equally here to try and make sure there's no slipstream advantage given to each other. But of course, if you have a bad lap and you find yourself pulling back a little bit, you might end up giving that advantage to your competitor.
It works in 2 ways, though, doesn't it? Because, of course, you get the advantage in the slipstream, but when you're going through the corners, you've got dirty air that you're following the car in front of. That will cause you to lose front grip and a loss of downforce through there. Now, here is Jonathan Wong from Hong Kong, China. Finished 2nd in semi-final C. Put in a great performance to make it through, actually, here tonight, and we're excited to see how he fares. I'll tell you something, just see on the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen, Nicolas Rubelar's got a flashing red dot next to his name. That's a track limits penalty. Half a second he'll be penalised on this lap for exceeding track limits, so now he has really only got 1 bite of the cherry to set a quick time.
Yeah, so it's just pushing a little bit too hard early on. Traditionally, you want to go for that banker lap first and then go for the flying lap at the end, but Nico there kind of giving him all to do on that second lap. You can see over chicane, Giorgio Mangano really throwing the car, trying to make the most of the curbs there, but they're quite high and these cars are quite low. We're getting our first times coming in now. We have Maraglino currently the quickest on a 39.6. Coco Lopez just over a tenth and a half slower. Here is Cody Nikolakowski. This is a man. He was speaking to me earlier and saying, this is this has to be my chance to win this. But he knows the talent of the field. Mick Hazau in there, of course, well, Takuma Miyazono in there, Ryan DeRouche, who won yesterday in Manufacturer Series. The strength of field here is so high, which is why this series is always so much fun to watch.
The advantage for Cody Nikolakowski is he was, of course, our Motorsport Games winner in the FIA Motorsport Games earlier on this year, so he has got that boost of confidence. Here is Jonathan Wong just setting a lap time going fourth fastest. What about Baptiste Beauvoir then, the Frenchman? We're watching him out of the Parabolica over the timing line. Where does he put his banker lap time? It's the top of the pile, a 1:39.335. That's a very strong time indeed here. Takuma Miyazono's not too far adrift. I don't think he's going to go overall quickest on this lap, but he could get himself on the front row if he carries on as it is over the timeline. He does. He makes time in that final sector. Takuma Miyazono takes provisional pole, but the man on a flyer here, Jimmy, is Mikael Hazal.
It was telling me that qualifying and the first race result was going to be super important for the rest of the series tonight, so he's really going to be going all out. And there it is, Mick Hazal, provisional pole for now. He's got one more lap, just over a tenth over Miyazono there, and right now Miyazono is currently a tenth down on the German's best time. So right now it's Hazal, Miyazono, Beauvoir making up the top three. Cody a bit further down than he would like to be, of course, but look at that gap between first and fifth position, 0.5 of a second. The top few drivers are really quick. Coco Lopez there finishing off his session, goes up into fourth position. A good session from him, but of course no better than fourth for him.
Takuma Miyazono just making a slight mistake out of the Della Roggia chicane. That will cost him a few tenths of a second. It has cost him a bit of time in that first sector. Danny Solis sets his best lap time. It's only good enough for 11th fastest in this session. Likewise, Salvatore Maraglino. Patrick Blajan improves up to third in the dying seconds of this session. That's a good lap time for the Hungarian driver. But what about Takuma Miyazono? Can he dethrone Mikael Hazal here? He's lost time in that second sector. That mistake at the Della Roggia chicane, clearly very costly.
Yeah, that's right. Here's Cody right now. He's only about just half a tenth slower right now than the best time coming through Ascari for his last qualifying lap. Jonathan Wong improves as well, up to fifth position. So tight at the top now, only 3 tenths cover first to fifth. Baptiste Beauvoir goes better. He goes up into second place. A great time there from the French driver. What can Miyazono do though? He's on a decent lap at the moment, coming around the Parabolica for the last time in this session. Drives the line right on the inside there, hugging it. Does not go quicker. That means unless Cody Lukowski has something in the bag here, Mick Hazal will have pole position.
Cody Lukowski set to improve in time and in position. It won't be a front row start, but he doesn't improve. He drops time in that final sector and comes home only 7th fastest. So it is Mikael Hazal who takes pole position in the top 12, qualifying for the Nations Cup World Final. We know he's cool as a cucumber, and the lack of emotion on his face suggests that he is just purely focused ahead of race one here tonight. And now we know how the grid is going to line up for these drivers here in Monaco. Cody Lukowski, do you think he's going to be ruining what happened in that session?
He knew he needed a good qualifying session there. It wasn't a bad session from him, but I think he wanted to be a bit closer to the front, especially given the next race, which we'll get into in a little while. But Mick there, I think, he's just kind of checking things off a list at the moment. He's checking things off a list. So, yeah, we'll see how he does.
Very formulaic way of looking at it for Mikael Hazal. Final results, you can see them from the top 12. Mikael Hazal takes pole position ahead of Baptiste Beauvoir, who will join him on the front row. Then Miyazono, Blajan, Wong, Lopez, Lukowski, Mangano, Maraglino, DeRouche, and Danny Solis. Nicolas Rubelar, difficult day at the office there for him so far. 141. He was a good chunk off of Danny Solis, who was down there in P11. A lot of work to do for our World Tour 1 winner. The Chilean driver will start at the back of the grid.
Not good for him. I think really just went a bit too hard in the first lap, put all the pressure on himself then for the second lap, and of course with that made another mistake, and yeah, right down the back there.
Yeah, absolutely right. Stick around here because in a few moments' time we've got a special announcement here regarding Lamborghini and Gran Turismo. Let's head over, shall we, to Julia, who's on the floor.
Yes, before we get knee-deep into the Nations Cup, we have a very, very special unveiling by Lamborghini, who brought their new Vision Gran Turismo car to unveil to us here in Monaco. It's called the Lambo Vision VT12 GT car. Let's reveal it now! I mean, oofed. Am I right? Seriously, that is, wow, spectacular. So I'm joined by Chairman and CEO of Automobili Lamborghini, Stefano Domenicali. Welcome. Big round of applause for Stefano, please, Mr. Domenicali, and of course the producer of the Gran Turismo series, Kazunori Yamauchi. Thank you both for joining me here. So first of all, what is it like to stand so close, almost touching distance from this beautiful machine?
Well, Julia, you know, that's very important for us. That's Lambo V12 show where Lambo is today. He's looking ahead, he's looking for the future. And it's great. I mean, the shape, the power, and the brand has a vision.
Yeah, I
Has
mean,
a vision.
Spectacular. I mean, that kind of blend of the old and the new, obviously, you know, the V12 is your signature engine, but then making it so futuristic, is that something you always aspire to do at Lamborghini, that blend?
Yeah, the blend is that the DNA is always taken from the tradition, the vision for the future. And that's really the way where we are. And it's great to feel the energy from the kids and the boys that are having this experience here. And I was looking at the qualifying time in Monza, 39.1. So let's see, this car should be much faster. I hope that they're going to drive very, very soon that.
I know very much so, actually. While they were doing a bit of rehearsal for this earlier, and we had to close the entire room down because everyone was a little bit too keen to find out what was under there. So there is that kind of draw. I mean, it's beautiful to have you down here and part of the Gran Turismo family now. This is really, really fantastic. But how important is esports to Lamborghini?
Well, esport is very important because Lamborghini is a very young brand, you know, with very young customer, and of course we are aspirational for them. And we create the base for our future product being connected with the young generation. And we know that simulation, and we know that gaming, and I have to say really congratulations for the vision that you have been in this world today. And if I think about the magnitude of what it is today, this is incredible. And this is really where we want to be, with great vision, with great product, and with great fun. Because at the end of the day, we have the privilege of being in a world that having fun and a lot of joy when we play and when we produce these cars that are incredible.
They are incredible. I think, well, that's just fact. It's not even up for debate. Yamauchi-san, we have another manufacturer bringing one of their Vision GT cars to us. I mean, how excited are you to see this go into GT Sport?
ランボルギーニの皆さんがね、この車にかけたその時間の長さを考えると、このモナコのワールドファイナルの会場で、やっとね皆さんにお披露目できたっていうのはね、本当に僕嬉しいですね。で、この車どこからどう見てもランボルギーニに見えるでしょ。未来のあるいは現在の。で、しかも V12 いいじゃないですか。
So, you know, considering the amount of time that and effort that the people at Lamborghini designers worked on this car, I'm so happy to be able to reveal this at the world final like this here in Monaco. You know, and this is a car where no matter where you look at the car from, you can tell immediately it's a Lamborghini of now and it's a Lamborghini of the future.
Yeah, it is so, so special. Well, look, I think it's about time we kicked off this Nation Cup final. Thank you, Yamauchi-san. Thank you so much, Mr. Domenicali, for joining us. It looks great, right, everybody? Amazing. Let's chuck it back to the desk for our driver introductions and get this final championship underway.
Thank you very much indeed, Julia. It is about time then for us to welcome our 12 grand finalists in the Nations Cup. Please welcome from Spain, Coque Lopez. All the way from Italy, Salvatore Maraglino. From the United States of America, Daniel Solis.
from Hungary, Patrick Blajan. From Chile, Nicolas Rubila. From France, Rayan Derouche. From Hong Kong, China, Jonathan Wong. From France, Baptiste Beauvoir. From Italy, Giorgio Mangano. From Japan, Takuma Miyazono. From Australia, Cody Nicola Latkovsky. Finally, from Germany, please welcome Michael Hitzau. Ladies and gentlemen, your respects please for the national anthem of Monaco. The national anthem of Monaco plays out here, our host nation, for the world final of the 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. Nations Cup action coming up for you here tonight. Our 12 finalists are in the house. They're primed and ready. We're primed and ready here, Jimmy. let's get straight in, shall we, to the first circuit and car combination.
100%. Let's go into it right now. So, of course, the circuit, you'll know already, is the Monza circuit. We've just had qualifying on there now. And, of course, the Group 2 cars. Let's get a closer look at that.
Yeah, absolutely. The Autodromo Nazionale Monza, of course. A circuit steeped in history. We were talking about it a few moments ago in qualifying. Racing hard and medium tyres for these drivers to contend with in race 1. 12 laps. They must use at least each compound of tyres, and they must run on those tyres for a minimum of 5 laps in this race. You can see fuel consumption at times 2, tyre wear at times 10, and it's going to be interesting to see how they all fare, especially down to that first corner, Jimmy, because it's very tight at the Rettifidio chicane. The advantage for them is it's a rolling start, so that might alleviate some drama down into that first corner.
That's right, and if you're in the position of anyone at the top of the field, you want to be probably starting on that medium compound tyre first, as you can see on the screen there. Now, the reason why we'll be using the hard tyre a bit less is because players try and get off the harder compound as soon as they can, and be that there is a minimum requirement of 5 laps per tyre, we think they'll be using just a minimum and then going to the mediums as soon as possible.
Well, it is going to be interesting to see which drivers go with which strategy. If you were starting at the front end of the grid, you'd, as you said, probably start with the medium compound of tyres. If you're at the back, take a gamble, go on the hards, have the quicker compound towards the end. Well,
we have the advantage here, it being Monza, there's a lot of slipstreaming going on. If you're on the hard compound of tyre, you can kind of just tuck in behind someone on the medium compound. And if you can stay with them through the corners, then you're essentially just getting a free ride along. So not a bad strategy if you can make those hards last.
I think one to watch in this race, Takuma Miyazono, Japanese driver, of course, has been very quick so far in 2019. Japanese, of course, competed in 3 World Tour events, made it to all 3 finals within those World Tour events, a best result of 2nd back for World Tour 4 in Salzburg. The question on everybody's lips, though, where is he going to finish tonight? Can he take the fight to the regulars we're used to seeing at the front?
I think that's his goal. You know, I spoke to him yesterday. He seems as focused, if not more focused, than Mick Kazal to be on that top step of the podium, especially after the last time out, World Tour at Tokyo. Just didn't quite have the speed he wanted and just kept making little mistakes. But, of course, we said Mick Kazal. Let's talk about him. Definitely my hot pick. I think yours as well.
Yeah, completely.
Tom, lots of momentum, of course, coming from the Super Cup victory back at Tokyo. And we said it many times, we've never seen him more focused.
No, that is the thing. You saw him walking in the driver's introduction there. He was praying as he walked in and, you know, trying to get as much luck as possible. That is the thing with Mikael Hizal. We're not used to seeing him as focused as he is being. Clearly, his eyes are very much on the prize here tonight. He knows what's at stake. 2 big names in the form of Igor Fraga, Ryota Kokobon, out of this weekend on Friday in the semi-finals that we had. So he's really in the best opportunity here to try and take that fight there. He's got stiff competition, though, in the form of Cody Lukovsky, Takuma Miyazono, etc., though.
Yeah, of course. It's definitely not a free ride. There are some very fast drivers in this field, a lot of them more than capable of taking it to the German driver. So luckily for him, he's right at the front of the pack, so he can kind of dictate the pace into T1. But you can say on the flip side, if there is an incident, he's first in the firing line.
Well, that is true. He is, of course, brilliant about having with clear track in front of him. Let's see whether he will be able to fight at the front. It is time then to get race 1 underway for the Nations Cup here in Monaco. The 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships in Monaco. It is time for race 1. Here's how the grid lines up.
On pole position, of course, after that qualifying session is the German driver, Mikael Hizal there, leading the field away for this race at Monza. Behind him is Baptiste Poupois, the Frenchman, with a fantastic session for him, who we're looking to try and challenge Mick at the front. Takuma Miyazono there, the Japanese driver, third. Another extremely fast guy right up the sharp end of the field. Patrick Blajan with a resurgence in form lately. He's up in 4th starting at this show. Then in 5th is Jonathan Wong, another very quick driver. You have to be in this final. Coque Lopez, the fan favourite, down in 6th position. Midfield, not a bad session from him. Cody Nikolakowski, for him, a bad result in qualifying, but we know he has the moves to make it up again. Giorgio Mangano, the Italian, in 8th position. A big cheer from the Italian commentators, as always. Same there for Maraglino as well. He's in 9th position. Then in 10th, it's Ryan Gurish. That's how I think you meant to say it. And in 11th place is Danny Solis. Didn't think he'd be here today, but he is starting 11th. And last, but certainly not least, is a Paris World Tour winner, Nicolas Rubelar, all the way from Chile.
He's having a lot of work to do, Nicolas Rubelar, from the back of the grid. Had a shocker of a top 12 qualifying session right when it counted. So what is going to happen here then in this race. What are the tactics down towards turn 1 here, Jimmy, do you think?
Depends who you are, really, at this point. We see the first 4 runners on the medium compound tyre. They want to break away as soon as possible. Jonathan Wong, though, and Coco Lopez behind them, and Lukowski all on the hard compound. So they're going to do their best to try and stay with the front pack at pretty much any cost. If you're Mick, it's just keep an eye on your mirrors, I think.
You can see Giorgio Mangano, the Italian driver, on home soil here in Monza on the medium compound of tyres. He has gone against the grain in that lower half of the top 10 section. The crowd here are waiting with bated breath. We know you are at home, as are the competitors on stage in Monaco. It is time then to get our world final event underway. 6 World Tour events all lead down to this. Who is going to be on top, though? It is time to get racing action underway here. The World Finals for the Nations Cup in the 2019 FIA Gran Turismo Championships are underway as Mikael Hazal leads the field over the timing line here in Monza. Everybody slotting into a straight line behind them, getting the advantage of the slipstream as Mikael Hazal tries to break the toe, comes over to the racing line on the left-hand side of the circuit, heading down to the first corner. Baptiste Beauvoir looking very aggressive and weaving over the corner of the circuit. Down into T1 we go. Beauvoir holds on to second place. Hazal holds on to his race lead. They all make it through the Retta Filio for the first time of asking very cleanly indeed. They know this is a long race. They know there's no point in getting themselves in an upset position. But Mikael Hazal doing a brilliant job of taking the advantage and leading the way after the first couple of corners.
Yeah, nice and clean through there, but of course this is a slipstream circuit, so that can all change very quickly. Second chicane now, on board with Takuma Miyazono. He has Baptiste Beauvoir in front of him, and behind him Patrick Blajan, and already Beauvoir picks up a 0.5 second penalty, a bit too aggressive over the curves. That's going to give Mick Hazal a bit of breathing room, and of course release Takuma Miyazono to try and chase down the German driver through the second Lesmo. Nice and wide off there on the throttle, nice and early. Behind them, Patrick Blajan, he might be able to sneak past Baptiste Beauvoir as well. That 0.5 second penalty, he will. The Hungarian goes up into third place for now, and Baptiste Beauvoir, a very stern look on his face, goes down to 4.
Not a good start then for Beauvoir on the opening lap. The Frenchman with work to do. The advantage, of course, is that he will have the slipstream to be able to use. Jonathan Wong, the first of the hard tyre compound drivers, in 5th position. But look at the gap already appearing between these drivers. Mikael Hazal putting 0.7 of a second over Takuma Miyazono on this opening lap. And that is what Mikael Hazal is so good at doing. When he's got clear track in front of him and no immediate interruptions from behind, he is so consistent sector after sector, lap after lap.
He just knows that this result is very important for the rest of tonight's races. He was saying it to me earlier, well, I have to win this first race, and of course everyone else behind him has something else to say about that, but he'll do his best. You can see how effective the slipstream is, that the gap comes down by 0.3 of a second on the straight alone, but under traction Mick seems a lot quicker in the straight line. We saw him looking back on the first lap to Baptiste Beauvoir. He just pulled away like he was standing still, but now he's in the slipstream. He's got Miyazono behind him, Patrick Blajan there, and of course Beauvoir still in the frame as well. Jonathan Wong behind has fallen back a little bit on the hard compound tyres, so the plan to try and stay with the front runners, I think, hasn't worked out for them. So maybe the medium compound was the right way to start for the guys at front. But a mistake there coming out of second chicane for Miyazono, drops a couple of tenths.
Randarouche being given a penalty there for exceeding track limits. You can see that by the red dot flashing next to his name down in P10. Meanwhile, Cody Nikola Lukowski as well, down at the back of that gaggle, the trio of drivers on hard tyres from 5th down to 8th position. That is not what Cody Nikola Lukowski would have wanted, or indeed that he needs if he wants to take the fight to the front with Hazal and Miyazono. He needs to get himself to the front of that little group really more than anything. Keep with the rest of the runners and get himself in as good a contention as he can when he's on the medium tyres in the closing stages of this race.
You can see, just watching the gaps, that the front 3 cars are so much quicker through the corners than Beauvoir is. Maybe just not quite as in tune with this Group 2 cars as the 3 guys ahead of him right now. So we'll go back into the mid-pack right now. Here is Coco Lopez. He's currently stuck between Jonathan Wong and Cody Lukowski, who we mentioned before, who I'm sure is aching to try and get by the Spanish driver. Been a great story for Coco Lopez this weekend. He's come through a lot of adversity in terms of his racing performance. Started 12th in the reportage, finished 3rd to get through to the final today, and started right at the back of the field, of course, in that race. But here comes Coco Lopez looking to the outside of Jonathan Wong. Can you make that stick? Has to be late on the brakes and try and move past. Only goes round the outside there of Wong and makes a move. A great
position change there. Fantastic for Koke Lopez, but bad for Wong. He's forced onto the gravel, and Cody Lukowski takes a place too. So Jonathan Wong loses a few places. Marcolino trying as well in the background as Cody now looks to try and get past Koke Lopez.
Giorgio Mangano side by side with Jonathan Wong through the Curva Grande, but look at Koke Lopez then having to defend against Cody Lukowski as they come into that Della Roggia chicane. The Spaniard still retains it ahead of Lukowski. Lukowski's run, oh actually I was going to say Lukowski's run was a bit poor through the Della Roggia, but Koke Lopez picking up a half-second penalty through there for exceeding track limits. So although he got a good run, it was too good for him, exceeding the limits of the circuit, and picks up a half-second penalty. That is going to drop him right back into the clutches and probably allow Lukowski to go past. Here we go then, Lopez takes up that penalty. Lukowski goes through into 5th place. That's what the Australian driver needs here. He needs to be at the front of this gaggle, and now Mangano's going to have a bit of a bite at the cherry with Lopez as well. Side by side they come. It's easy picking for the Italian driver into P6 before the Ascari chicane, and now those positions have all changed in the space of 1 lap.
Definitely don't need to invite Mangano twice. He would take that position when he wants to. Giorgio Mangano, of course, was our first ever World Tour winner all the way back last year. I think it was in April or May. My memory isn't too good. But, of course, I wonder if he knew that this would result in being here, of course, at the World Final a year later in Monaco. Koke Lopez on board now. I'm sure he will be very unhappy with that cut track penalty, but it's the same rules for everyone. If you try and take a little bit too much curve, the virtual steward will give you a bit of a slap.
Meanwhile, Giorgio Mangano just in the front of his shot. He, of course, is on the medium compound tyres. You would expect him to be quicker than Cody Lukowski. The good thing for Lukowski is if Mangano is able to get his way past, then he'll be able to have the advantage of the slipstream, which, of course, is not something that he's benefiting from at the moment, running on his own, because that gap is very significant to Baptiste Beauvoir. 5.2 seconds the Frenchman is in front of the Australian at the moment here in this race as they come down into that Della Roggia chicane once more.
So the gap's getting a little bit tighter at the top at the moment. It seems that Patrick Blajan is starting to state his intent, and Nakuma Miyazono in front of him at the moment. Of course, you have to wonder, do these guys want to fight? Because if they do, that will allow Mick Hazal to try and pull away someone. You can see Mick straight away just weaving over the other side of the track. You can do that, just trying to break the toe. As long as you aren't weaving excessively, it's all okay with the stewards. So Patrick Blajan now in the toe of Miyazono. He's only about 2 tenths behind on our timing screen there, but just can't quite follow because of the dirty air through there. These guys are having to deal with dirty air because these Group 2 cars prefer it. A lot of downforce and a bad run there out of Miyazono. This might be the invitation that Patrick Blajan needs down to the parabolic. I don't think he's going to quite be close enough for a move, but that's going to really have spooked the Japanese driver. Looks up the inside, just trying to keep Miyazono's eyes busy, keep his eyes in the mirrors and not on the apex in front of him.
Blajan needs to be sensible here and smart as well, because if he mucks up the exit of the Parabolica, which he does, and he gets a really good run out of there, but Miyazono's was pretty good there as well. It really could have cost him quite dear there for Patrick Blajan. But it stays as it is then for now. He's got the advantage of the slipstream, does the Hungarian driver. Meanwhile, further back, Nicolas Rubilar making some gains. He's gone from P12 up to P10. Looks like Blajan was going to have a sneaky look down into the Retafilio. Not quite close enough at the start of lap 5 here, but certainly signalling his intentions. Beauvoir, meanwhile, looks to have sort of settled down a bit. He was looking a bit scrappy in the opening couple of laps, but is just beginning to start latching onto the back of these guys, not letting that gap get too big with the top 3 at the moment.
We're seeing a couple of little mistakes creep in now for Miyazono at the front there. Just only small ones, but this is kind of how it starts for the Japanese driver. We know he gets a little bit flustered sometimes, and there's another one, a little bit slow for the second chicane, which of course allows Patrick Blajan back into the slipstream, back right within the 10th. He's a good run out of here because Miyazono is also being towed along by Mick Hazal, who's still managing to keep just about 7/10 of a second of a gap coming out of the second lesson, which is enough to stay ahead, of course, coming into Ascari. So here's on board our new cockpit cam. Hope you guys enjoyed. Lots of positive feedback from the last stream, so thank you for that. And now another camera on Patrick Blajan as we come up towards Ascari. Again, just looking to the inside. He's really just trying to keep Miyazono's eyes busy, trying to force a mistake. It's a great tactic there, just to try and get into the head of the guy in front of you. So Miyazono's trying to, 1, catch Hazal, and also 2, defend from Blajan. Very difficult place to be in.
Yeah, very tricky indeed. Meanwhile, we're on lap 5, of course. This is where we're expecting the hard tyres to be at the end of their life. It's a minimum of 5 laps these drivers are going to be able to use it on. You can see tyre strategies now on the left-hand side of your screen. Michelin tyres, of course, on these cars, and the hard runners are surely going to come in at the end of lap 5. Get that hard rubber off, get onto the medium tyres for a maximum amount of time as possible. Cody Lukowski, the first of the hard runners. Does he dart into the pit lane on the right-hand side of the circuit? He certainly does. Everybody else following him through, but Mangano coming in there as well off the medium tyres. He wants to be on the hard tyres for 7 laps here. That's an interesting call.
He doesn't want to lose the draft. He's so far behind the other guys now, even coming up in the medium compound. If these guys have the draft, he'll be able to pull away. So won't be able to pull away. He'll be caught by the guys in the new set of tyres. So it's just how it has to be. Of course, it'll be a bit of a disadvantage through the corners, but Cody is now the first to pit. He'll have somewhat of an undercut on the guys ahead, but look at the gap right now. It's 18 seconds. They do have to pit, of course. But the front four have really pulled away. You see how much quicker he was through there.
Whack in the background. Wong got ahead of Mariglino as well for P8, so that's good there for for Wong rather. Mariglino gets it back, however. Randarouche is race meanwhile. He goes from bad to worse, picked up a track limits penalty down in 12th position. The Frenchman, we were expecting him to do good things here tonight, but it has not gone his way so far. Meanwhile, look now at Blajan. He's got a great run onto Kuma Miyazono. Miyazono goes defensive as they come under the old banking, but will Blajan have a sneaky look down into Ascari, riding on board, looking back at the Hungarian driver, but Blajan just biding his time here, being very sensible. He knows that any kind of rash move could upset Miyazono's race, could hand him a penalty if they make contact with one another, and they both stand a lot more to lose at this point in the race. We're only at the halfway stage, don't forget, than they would do to gain.
I think it was an intelligent move by Blajan there, because if he had forced to move on Miyazono, they would have went through Ascari slowly together, and that might have broken the toe to Mick Hazal and let him just romp away. So I think Mick thought, you know what, maybe I won't be able to do, Patrick thought I won't be able to do this, and to stay. Now, Mick Hazal pills into the pit lane, as does everybody else. He's cutting the race in two onto the hard compound of tyre there. I think what he was going to try and do is maybe just like, yeah, guys, you pit and I'll just go off on my own. They've all followed him in, as expected. We'll see who comes out first. A little bit of fuel going in as well, not too much. Out comes Hazal. Now, where are the other pit stoppers? You can't even see them in the background. That's how much of a gap they've made so far out the pit lane. And Patrick Blajan's already right on the back of Miyazono there. Will he have a look into T1? He'll have to try and make his way out the white line to do that, which will get him a bit in trouble with stewards, so you probably won't see that. But, yep, all good. So Hazal still leaves, but a good run out of the first chicane for Miyazono. Not quite close enough, I think, to make a move down into the second chicane. But, yeah, stating his intentions.
Now you can see the points rankings on the right-hand side of your screen. The points that they have so far are the ones they picked up in the semi-finals on Friday. If it stays as it is, it will be Hazal 2 points ahead of Miyazono going into race 2, but we know how quickly everything can change. Meanwhile, 3 drivers will be tied on 12 points of Blajan, Beauvoir and Latkovsky. Into the Lesmos we go now, and is Miyazono going to struggle on this hard compound of tyres? Is it going to allow Hazal that breathing space? Maybe Hazal's done a bit more testing on the hard tyres and maybe he's a bit more comfortable with it.
The gap now nearly up to a second. You see how much Miyazono was struggling through the second chicane, under braking. Patrick Blajan really brought the gap back in there, just under braking alone. That's given a bit of breathing room to Mick Hazal. Really, he needs to try and get above a second and a half, and then he'll be home free. But, of course, that's going to be easier said than done. Now back in the midfield, which they're still as scrappy as always, and you'll see that even Giorgio Mangano going onto the hard compound of tyre hasn't paid off for him, because the person he came out the pits with, Cody Latkovsky, is already about 4 or 5 seconds up the road and just trying his best to get onto the back of Baptiste Beauvoir. I wonder if Cody can do that. He has about 4 seconds to catch the Frenchman to 4th position, sorry. So it'll be a big ask, but if anyone can do it, Cody can. Board with Jonathan Wong again. You can see the inputs there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Flat on the throttle, almost running onto the slippery stuff on the left there. Don't want to do that. That's a one-way ticket into the inside wall. I can tell you that from experience. 2
Italians going side by side. Another Mariglino pulls alongside Giorgio Mangano down the start-finish straight, heading in towards the Rettifilio chicane we go. Will Mariglino be able to break later? Jonathan Wong coming into the party as well. He's going to try and send it up the inside of them both. Into the Della of the Rettifilio we go, side by side. Mangano gets shoveled out wide onto the curve. Mariglino and then make contact. Jonathan Wong ready to pick up the pieces if anything takes off with these guys, but Mariglino goes through into 7th place. Mangano demoted down to 8th, and Jonathan Wong, well, he tried there and he was the catalyst causing all of that down in towards the first corner. The stewards taking a look at what was going on. Through the curve of Grande we go, side by side now as Wong pulls ahead of Giorgio Mangano. Mangano on the inside line. Wong has to hold off for the outside line. All it's doing is allowing Nicolas Rubelar to come into play now here as well as we head in towards the Lesmos for the 8th time we go. Mariglino, meanwhile, has just been able to pull out enough of a gap. That's giving him a bit of a buffer over Giorgio Mangano. One thing to mention, of course, here, Jimmy, Mangano is on the hard compound of tyres at the moment, so he's going to be a little bit slower through these corners than the medium shot drivers who are close behind.
I think he's got the strategy wrong, slightly. He's having to defend all the way around here, of course, and that move by Jonathan Wong has only meant that they're further back now from the pack they were chasing. Koke Lopez has kind of been given a bit of breathing room there in 6th position, so all is good for him. Unfortunately, that's how things go. Looking back there from Giorgio Mangano, he's now the cork in the bottle, getting a bit of a toe there from his countryman, but in the background, Nico Rubelard there picks up a 0.5 second penalty. Not been a good race so far from the Paris champion, but all to play for at the moment. We still have a lot of races yet to go, and of course double points in the finale as usual. And Mick Hazal now under threat from Takuma Miyazono. They're coming down to the first chicane. The gap's come down. Must have been a mistake there from Hazal somewhere. Just a great lap from Miyazono. Let's see if they can keep that out the first chicane. A good run out of there. Takuma is as close as he has been so far. There you can see that is the gap there. And of course Mick Hazal has no slipstream. Takuma Miyazono does, so he'll have a boost coming up to the second chicane. He looks to the inside for a second, just showing his nose again, and then getting back into line for braking into the second chicane. Now let's see how he is through here. He's been a bit poor through here over the race, and again, same circumstance, just not able to get the drive out of there than the cars behind him and in front of him have.
Through the Lesmos we go then. Mikael Hazal having to defend. Only 3 laps remain here at Monza in race 1, and this is going to be very exciting to see how it all plays out as they come through that second Lesmo. Here's a replay down to that first corner. Now look at Wong here on the inside. He tried to go to the inside of Marilino and Mangano. Wong made a complete mess of his braking zone there, so that's the second incident we've seen for the Hong Kong China driver, and it drops him now behind Danny Solis down into P11. The lap before he made an aggressive move. It paid off for him in that he didn't lose any positions. This time around it has not done so, and he has lost out big time here.
A bit too impatient through there, of course, and I think now, as you say, he's got to pick up the pieces there as Mick Hazal is having to try and break the toe again. He has to be careful of that moving from side to side. Too much of that, and the stewards will come have a word with him. And Miyazono is so much deeper in the brakes than Hazal was. I think he outbraked himself there, actually. The gap's gone up to 0.4 of a second, just like that. And behind him, of course, Patrick Blajan looking to try and attack as well. So it might be a freeway battle coming down into T1. Miyazono, again, closer than he has been. Mick Hazal pulls the inside to defend. Miyazono there, coming up strong from behind. Looks to the outside now. A challenge for the lead on lap 10. Hazal has to hold the inside line. Miyazono will not make that round. Is forced out wide there, and as a result he's going to get a bad exit out of the chicane. Behind him, Patrick Blajan, I mean right behind him right now, the better exit. This might have just given the Hungarian driver an opportunity to jump up into second place.
Strong driving there from Mikael Hazal, smart driving as well, did exactly what he needed to do to halt the charge of Miyazono coming out of there. If those two had gone side by side into that corner, it would have shuffled out Miyazono there as well, but Blajan is the man on the move here, and Baptiste Beauvoir not too far away. Not a good exit out of that corner once again for Takuma Miyazono, and it's interesting really because he's sort of consistent in some areas, inconsistent in other areas, and it's costing him, especially in that first sector, whereas in the third sector he seems to be relatively strong.
Or is consistent in making that same mistake, I can tell you that. That's something, I guess. Patrick Blajan, look how close he is. This is what 0.2 of a second looks like when you're on board and chasing a guy down in front of you. He just hasn't quite got the toe, of course. Bear in mind, Miyazono's got the same toe as well, so he's not really getting that much of an advantage from being behind Miyazono in a straight line. Coming through Ascari again, it just seems that Miyazono's just a little bit slower through some of these corners, maybe worn his tyres out a little bit. We know how aggressive his driving style is. And Patrick Blajan there, you hear wheel spinning on the exit of Ascari. Just try and stay with the Japanese driver, maybe put a challenge down here into the first chicane through the Parabolica once more.
So this is great to see from Patrick Blajan as well. We know how quick the Hungarian driver can be, but he's kind of gone off the boil in 2019. Now back fighting at the front as they come over the timing line once again. Mikael Hazal with a half-second advantage. That's a good enough buffer to just break the toe a little bit from Takuma Miyazono, stop him making an immediate attack unless he has a massive dive down to that first corner. He's not close enough, but Blajan's very late on the brakes, close behind as well. And these guys running almost nose to tail through there. Miyazono struggles again on corner exit. He's really not happy putting the power down behind the wheel of this Nissan Group 2 GTR, and you can see that is just allowing Blajan to close up incrementally corner by corner, but just not close enough for him to make an attack at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been saved by the slipstream a few times, has Miyazono, and Patrick Blajan again looking so aggressive now. This is the point of the race where you think, okay, maybe I can't win. There's Koji Zakowski now trying to get into the fray in 5th position. If there's any more fighting, he stands to gain massively. But if you're Patrick Blajan, you think, right, okay, I've got a lap and a bit to go. I probably can't win this from this position. I might as well try and get second place, and now is the time to really turn the screw and attack. So, coming up to Ascari once more time, down the straight or up the straight, it kind of banks, the old banking use of course go there it is. And coming up to Ascari, can Patrick Blajan do anything here? I don't think they can from now, but he might try and set himself up for a move coming down to the first chicane. When you're driving, you kind of think a few corners ahead just to try and make sure you can catch your opponent at the right time.
One of these things to mention, of course, tonight in the Nations Cup is that it's double points in the final round as well. So even if you finish second in race one or a little bit further down the order than you were expecting in some races, you may be able to turn your fortunes around and fight for the championship here tonight still. Look at that gap increasing, meanwhile, to Mikael Hazal. 0.6 a second it sits as we get ready to come on to the final lap here. Is Blažan going to have a dive down to that first corner then? He's not close enough at the moment with the advantage of the slipstream not helping him to make an attack on the Japanese driver, and unless he thinks about a move, it's not going to work here so far. You can see Mikael Hazal taking the middle line of the road through into that first corner. Struggles actually through there. Does he get a good exit out? Does it allow Miyazono to close up? Out of the Rettificio we go. It's closer than it has been between these guys. The gap now down to just under 0.4 of a second. And Miyazono, if he can get a good run out of the Della Roggia chicane through into the Lesmos and onto the straight, then he'll be in a prime position to try and make a move into Ascari.
He's a bit too far back for a move here. We know how weak he's been on the exit here. Let's see how he is here. Same again. Drops a little bit of time there to the German driver in front, but he has been closer. Now the two Lesmos. Mick has to get these perfect if he wants a good run down to Ascari without anyone trying to challenge him. Second Lesmo then. Turn in on the throttle, drive to the outside, use a little bit of the runoff if you're feeling brave, and the gap is extending. I think Miyazono had a bad run through there. Patrick Blažan conversely had a decent run, but it's not going to be close enough, I don't think, despite almost touching the rear wing there of Miyazono coming up to Ascari. And he's looking to challenge, he dives out for a second, goes back into the slipstream, and Hazal holds the lead for now, coming out of Ascari.
Through out of Ascari we go then. Mikael Hazal has driven a brilliant race strategically here. Look at the run that Blažan has got though, coming out of the Ascari chicane. Will he be able to challenge Miyazono? He's not quite close enough. Hazal tries to weave to try and break the slipstream of Takumi Miyazono. Final corner we go. Blažan versus Beauvoir. Look at where Beauvoir's come from. Side by side he goes on the outside of the Parabolica for the top three positions. Can Beauvoir hold it all the way around the outside? No, not quite. It's going to be a run to the line. Mikael Hazal takes the win in race one, but look at Beauvoir. He does hold it around the outside. Miyazono finishes second, and Beauvoir on the line takes third position in race one of the Nations Cup World Final. Lakovsky finishes fifth, Lopez in sixth, Maraclino in seventh, Solis eighth, Mangano ninth, Rubelat, Wong and Darouche complete the top 12 drivers here in the Nations Cup World Final. But that was fantastic from Mikael Hazal. He soaked up the pressure like a sponge in that one. And what can we say about Baptiste Beauvoir as well? An amazing final corner from the Frenchman.
Just didn't give Patrick Blažan a chance to retaliate, so you got to do it. Last lap, one place in there, and that's it. Now, of course, on your screen, the Super Formula car, a car I got to drive today at Spa in the wet. We're going to see it in our competitors coming up very, very shortly, so make sure to stay around for that.
Going to be very exciting to see how that all plays out. Wet conditions at Spa-Francorchamps in Super Formulas, plus the overtake button to add an extra 80 horsepower.
I didn't do too well, is what the exit of that conversation is. But yeah, great car and great for racing, of course.
Goodness me. I mean, that was just electrifying and great from Mikael Hazal. He just soaked up the pressure, didn't look phased at all, didn't make any rash moves, any mistakes. He was consistent throughout the course of it. Here we were, down towards the first corner. Hazal holding on to the lead. Beauvoir, who started in second, of course, was trying to challenge but wasn't quite close enough. Everybody making it through the Rettificio chicane very nicely. Then we saw Koke Lopez dropping back through the field with that half-second penalty as Lakovsky and Mangano challenged the Spaniard down in towards the Ascari chicane. Meanwhile, Miyazono, we saw him making a few uncharacteristic errors over the course of that race. It all kicked off, though, as Jonathan Wong went up the inside of Maraclino and Mangano. The two Italians shuffled out wide, having a bit of contact with one another, but it still stayed as it was. Then Wong made another mistake a lap later.
Tell you what, it just kind of goes to show that the pace that our leader had, of course, we'll get back to that in a second, because this was the move, audacious move by Baptiste Beauvoir, going all the way around the outside of the Parabolica and just nipping P3 on the line from Patrick Blažan. So I'm sure he'll be a bit frustrated with that, but it was great to watch, of course. You see that Patrick Blažan's probably cooler than Mick, actually. Just kind of sits like, oh, okay, fair enough, whatever. That happened. But he would have enjoyed that. So here are the race results confirmed. Of course, Mick Hazal taking the victory to Takumi Miyazono. A very close second with Baptiste Beauvoir in third of that great last-minute overtake, and Patrick Blažan in fourth. Not too bad the recovery there from Koji Lakovsky. He was almost joining the pack at the end of the race, just didn't quite have enough time to close it down. And not bad from Danny Solis. 8th place there, managed to recover from a fairly poor start.
Here's what the points rankings sit then after race one. Mikael Hazal takes the top spot. 18 points for him then. Takuma Miyazono in second. Baptiste Beauvoir there in third, just 1 point ahead of Cody Lakovsky. Lakovsky, of course, in turn 1 point ahead of Patrick Blažan for P4. So, very interesting, very close at the top. Still plenty of time for things to change.
Well, speaking of Blažan, we actually had a chance to have a chat with him earlier on. And he was saying that, he was
again, confident coming into it, of course. But despite that, he's only had one final appearance out of the last 5 World Tour events. So when we say, oh, you know, resurgence of form for you, Patrick, this is what we mean. He was pretty quick at the start when we first met him, but hasn't been able to do it since then.
Yeah, kind of got off the boil really in 2019, hasn't he? We know that he's a very talented driver. That race we just saw showed exactly that. And
Definitely.
it's a case of whether he's going to be able to turn things around. Anyway, race 2 to come for you here later on tonight. Let's head over to Julia, though, who is with our race 1 winner, Mikael Hezau.
Yes. Hi, Mick. How are you doing? You don't get a lot of breaks in between this, do you? You sort of come off, have to come talk to me. How are you doing?
For now, it seems that I'm okay.
Yeah?
But yeah, I just need to go to the toilet because
Okay, we'll make it super quick for you.
like before the top 12 qualifying started, I usually need to go there, but then they said, no, we don't have any time.
So basically you were racing whilst needing to pee.
Exactly.
Did that give you some extra focus?
I don't know.
Just get there quick so it can be over.
Well, we will see.
Okay, how are you going to kind of keep that concentration going? Is it going to be easier now after you go to the bathroom, I presume?
As for this race, starting from pole is really important because of the dirty air. So I just need to try and survive the first lap.
Yeah.
And once I did that, I will try to manage my own race.
Okay, I think you should go to the toilet. We are also, when you go, no, seriously, go to the toilet.
I just went.
Oh, you just went?
Yeah.
Oh, you're fine, okay. All right, well, yeah, don't forget to vote for our Michelin driver of the day. Who do you think that will be using the hashtags below? And let's take a quick look, actually, at the schedule of what's going to be happening today. So obviously that was race 1. We still have 2 more races and the grand final. Mick here's going to have to keep that concentration going, which I'm sure he will. And, of course, we now have a very special announcements over the course of this weekend with Lewis Hamilton, who's done an incredibly exciting new DLC. For the first time, you're going to be able to race against him and maybe beat him. It seemed a little bit concerned that people might, but it is something that you could possibly do. So why don't you just take a quick look at this video all about the new DLC.
It's been a long time coming. We've been planning it for easily a year now. So just to be a part of Gran Turismo, just to see its development over the years and now to be a part of it, it's been so much fun. Just getting to know the crew, get to know how much goes on back in Tokyo when they're developing, and now to be a part of this esports. This is really the future. You know, you've got some great drivers coming up. And I'm told there's like 8 million drivers online throughout the year. To be a part of it, to be able to set time and kind of have a distance input, it's really cool. They already did it today. We had that kind of 5-lap race, and that already felt a bit like a final to me, so it was intense. There's some really talented kids there.
Lovely to hear the thoughts there of Lewis Hamilton. What a lovely chap he is as well. I had a bit of a brief chat with him after that DLC, and we did an exhibition race here actually as well, and he said, well, I expected to be a bit quicker than that. These guys are just ridiculously fast.
I mean, I was honestly surprised at how much time he gave these guys. He was here for a solid hour just talking about old stories, giving advice. It was really nice to get some insight into what goes on, because you don't really get that with drivers, like Hamilton. So it was a really nice change of pace.
Yeah, not bad at all there for Lewis Hamilton. That paid DLC coming to GT Sport on the 28th of November. Right now, though, of course, Spa-Francorchamps, that is the circuit we're racing on for race 2 of the Nations Cup World Final. Based in the Ardennes Forest in Belgium, you can see there 19 adventures per lap. Corner simply isn't a good enough word. Dallara SF19, the Super Formula car with a Toyota engine. Heavy wet conditions, though. 8 laps around here, that's plenty. Fuel consumption at ×2, tyre wear ×4. We're not expecting any stops for this race there, Jimmy, but it is going to be very interesting to see how everybody copes with the conditions and a good amount of horsepower behind your rear wheels.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a chat, really, about the tyre wear around here. Whilst there is no tyre stop required, if you're spinning those rear tyres out of every corner, of course it's wet, so it'd be very easy to do that. By the time you get to the end, you're going to have no rear tyre grip. So the drivers still have to modulate that throttle pedal, and that's not easy because on the one button they've got overtake, which is another 80 or so extra horsepower at their disposal. So if you really want to spin, hit the button.
Now, 2 drivers who really didn't fare too well in race 1 were Ryan Darouche and Jonathan Wong. However, they have competed in 4 events in 2019. They've both competed in 4 finals as well. 1 podium appearance each that we've seen from them over the course of this 2019 season. And I'm very interested to see how they will fare, whether they will be able to have a resurgence, maybe the car and circuit combination in race 1 not suiting them. Perhaps things will fare better for both drivers in race 2. Speaking of race 2 then, we're about to get underway here. It is time for the second race of the Nations Cup World Final in Monaco.
Race 2 of the Nations Cup World Final in Monaco, set at Spa-Francorchamps in heavy wet conditions. And here's how the grid lines up.
Of course, in pole position, our winner of race 1, Mick Hazal. Can he make it 2 in a row here at Spa? Behind him, Takuma Miyazono, incredibly quick, of course, and will look to challenge the German driver here at Spa. Bati Bouvois in third of that audacious last-minute manoeuvre on this man, Patrick Blajan, the Hungarian driver, who starts on the second row of the grid. Then back to P5, Cody Nikolakowski. Not a good start by his stands, who were looking to get into the mix very, very quickly. Pecco Lopez, again, in 6th position. Again, the fan favourite, always a big clap for him when we see him go by. Salvatore Maraglino there in the 7th place. And in 8th behind him is Danny Solis, the American driver. Great to see him in this final. Then behind them is Giorgio Mangano, the other Italian driver. Oh, massive cheer in the background there for the Italians. Nico Rubelar, by his standards again, 10th place is not where he wants to be, so he'll be one to watch. Jonathan Wong there in the 11th position on the last row of the grid, and joining him is Ryan Durish after a bad first race.
Difficult day at the office there for Jonathan Wong and Ryan Durish, who start from the back row of the grid. One thing we should mention here, Jimmy, of course, we've got that green light on the top of the roll hoop. That is, when that flashes, essentially, that is the extra horsepower boost that they will have in this one. Our hot pick for this race, though, Cody Nikolakowski.
Yeah, he will be wanting to move forward as quick as possible. I know he's quick in these cars. I know he's quick full stop and in the wet conditions. So we're looking to try and get rid of Patrick Blajan, Bouvois and Miyazono as quick as he can and go after Mick Hazal. Again, a little refresher if you're unsure. This is the Super Formula car. Fantastic machine. Love this thing a lot. About 540 horsepower or so from this. Overtake button gives you even more if you're feeling brave, and lots of downforce through the fast corners to keep the cars stuck to the ground.
Spa-Francorchamps then, a circuit steeped in history and about to be screaming with the sound of the Super Formula cars with the Toyota engine. Mikael Hazal, the winner from race 1, will lead the field over the timing line. Will he be leading, though, at the end of this 8-lap race then? Race 2 for the World Final of the Nations Cup is underway here at Spa-Francorchamps. Mikael Hazal leads the field over the timing line as they head down towards La Source. For the first time we go then. Hazal holds out the advantage. Meanwhile, further back, all the field relatively spread out. No Dander moves down into that first corner, but look at how close Miyazono got under braking through that first turn. Is he going to try and get a run out of La Source up through Eau Rouge and Radillon?
I think a bad start from Bouvois there. Just hit the throttle too hard at the start, got some wheel spin, and that allowed Miyazono and Hazal to pull away instantly. Going through Eau Rouge the first time, bit of a breakthrough there through Miyazono. This is a great camera, this, on top of the halo, of course, of this Super Formula car, and just like that, Mick Hazal already has a second advantage. If he can break that a bit further and just get that a little bit more of a gap, he'll break the slipstream and be able to just do the thing he likes to do, which is drive away on his own. But I'm sure Takuma Miyazono is going to put out more than a fair fight. So behind them, Bouvois about a second behind them again is Patrick Blajan. Cody Nikolakowski unable to make up a space at the start there, but I'm sure we're looking to try and move forward as he settles into the race. Now, a reminder, we are on the full wet compound tyre. Miyazono, sorry, just shot off the left of my camera there. Got that all kinds of wrong. And I can't really stress how slippy this circuit is. I tried this track earlier on, made an utter fool of myself, as I always do on videos. And I can tell you, these guys racing out there, I do not envy them. Bear in mind, and everyone apart from Mikael Hazal has a lot of spray to contend with. Vision is not at a premium here.
Does have the clearest view in front of him, doesn't he? You can see Takuma Miyazono riding the outside curve there through Pouhon into the Fagnes chicane we go. Now, Baptiste Bouvois pulled out a bit of a gap here to Patrick Blajan, who is in 4th place at the moment, the Hungarian driver. But Bouvois clearly not at the same pace at the moment as Takuma Miyazono, who is in front. Meanwhile, Hazal is just extending that advantage. And this is what we were alluding to in that first race, what Hazal is so brilliant at when he's got clear track in front of him. Of course, very different circumstances we had in race 1. That was effectively a slipstream battle. But here in race 2, very much a different kettle of fish. And it's less about the slipstream, more about the time you can make up through the corners. Although the straight and going through Blanchimont is a great overtaking opportunity to set something up into the bus stop. But Hazal doesn't have too much competition from behind. This is a great onboard shot of what the driver will be looking at. You can see the camera moving to where Mikael Hazal's eyes will be looking as he comes through out of the final corner to lead at the end of lap 1 here.
I would have loved to see that frontal graphic just a little bit longer there, just to see how easy he was getting onto the power and trying to get that 500 plus horsepower to the road as quickly as possible. Baptiste Beauvoir seems to have caught up a little bit, as has Patrick Blajan there to the back of the pack. It's quite difficult to stay close to someone, as I said, because of the spray. It really hampers your visibility. And Patrick Blajan there, all kinds of sideways down the hill. I think just trying to nail the throttle. That's not the fastest way of doing things. It looks cool. It feels cool when you're doing it, but when you see the other guy pulling away, it feels a little bit less cool. And that was flat through there, wasn't it? All the way flat for Rouge in the wet. A bit of bravery, doesn't it?
That's very impressive indeed. I tell you what, Nicolas Rubelas just managed to mug Giorgio Mangano and Ryan de Rouge, 2 drivers in the space of 1 corner. I would love to be able to see a replay of that if we can, because it looks like it may have actually gone wrong there for Ryan de Rouge, because he's dropped a little bit further back, but it's all kicking off between those drivers in the lower half of the top 10. Riding on board here with Baptiste Beauvoir, looking at the front right-hand side of the car, as we look at it at least, going down into towards Ravage. You can see him there understeering wide, and this is one of the interesting points, isn't it, Jimmy? In the wet conditions, drivers will take different lines to try and get different levels of grip at points over the course of the lap.
Well, really, you want to try and focus on opening the steering just as quick as you can. You don't want to be accelerating with lock on at the same time, because that way, you know, you're pretty much just spawning for a spin at that point. Here is Cody Nikolakowski, just not showing the form he needs to really challenge the top 4 at the moment. He's having to correct himself going for a corner. Again, a great camera. I love this angle here. And some of you at home might be wondering why the centre pillar of the halo is not being shown, because these guys are racing on a single monitor. It's 2D. In real life, of course, it's like 3D. If you try and put your finger in front of your nose, you'll get an idea. You can see around it. You can't do that with 2D. That's why we've taken the monitor halo out to help our drivers see a bit better and help you guys see a bit better, of course, because that's what it's all about. So, Cody Nikolakowski there, who's just talking to himself. I think maybe a little bit of swearing there. We know what Cody's like. He's a bit frustrated sometimes during the races. He is just about within the draft range, though, so he is getting a tow here from Patrick Blajan up the hill. I wonder realistically what he can do from here.
Well, he's just not seeming to have the pace. He was, I say not seeming to have the pace to catch up with these guys. He was actually fast his last time around, so I'm prepared to eat my words there between these guys. But you can see there Cody Nikolakowski doing a good job of just keeping that gap now to Patrick Blajan at a constant. Over the timing line we go then to start lap number 3, and now he is closer to Patrick Blajan than he has been before, heading down to La Source, a bit too far away to make any moves down there, but clearly looking a bit more confident on the brakes. Maybe now he's got a bit of heat in the tyres. He's just beginning to feel the car come to him a little bit more.
Yeah, Blajan is the slow one out of this top 5 at the moment, and no one opting to use the overtake just yet, of course. It's have to be brave to do that, because there's an extra 80 horsepower or so to those rear tyres. A little bit of a flash there from Patrick Blajan over the top of Radion, just giving a little boost just to make sure he's not within slipstream range of Cody Nikolakowski. I have to say, so far it's been fairly quiet out on the circuit. Of course, it's a big challenge for our drivers out there driving. They've got to stay where they are for now. I think just all of them are afraid to try and do something a little bit scary, because of course no ABS in these things either. Really easy to lock the tyres under braking, and that really is a one-way ticket into the barrier. So I can understand why some people are erring slightly on the side of caution.
Well, Jimmy, you're a very experienced sim racer. What's it like when you're in the position of knowing that you've got a little bit more pace over the driver behind, but you just can't quite close the gap down in the way that you would like? For example, with Lakowski and Blajan.
Well, unfortunately for me, experience doesn't equate skill compared to these guys. But I know I've been in that position before, and it can get a bit frustrating to think, no, I'm trying my best here. How can I not get any closer to this guy? Well, just keep your head focused. Just focus on your apexes. Don't start having target fixation. Don't just look at the guy in front of you. Make sure you're doing the best you can do. And once you start getting that a little bit closer, then focus on, right, where is he weak? Where can I make up my time? Where can I maybe pick up a slipstream? That's what Hizao is having to do right now, but just on his own. He's having to make sure he's focusing on every corner. It's so easy when you're out front and leading. It's got about 3 seconds so far, which is a decent enough gap. There's no slipstream being given to the cars behind right now. But he can still make a mistake at any time, especially in these conditions, so he's having to really make sure his eyes are forward and not focused on the guys behind him.
Yeah, exactly. If you snatch a brake or you light up the rear tyres a bit too aggressively, then you may end up costing yourself more than you could gain. So Mikhail is out into the bus stop we go then for the 3rd time, ready to come onto the halfway stage within this world final race. And this is just brilliant stuff from Mikhail Hizao. You can see him riding the curbs there, but not riding the curbs on exit. Miyazono does, and you can see him there just getting a bit sideways out of that corner, lighting up the rear tyres, costing him a bit of time in traction, and also costing him a bit of time as well. You can see there Mikhail Hizao, look how gentle he's having to be on the throttle through that first corner, not getting onto full throttle, right into the very end, and hear the wheels spinning up as he just tries to put that power down. It is such a tense time for these drivers at the moment. They will be clenching like you won't believe.
Can you imagine spinning your tyres at 100 mile an hour and then going, yeah, I want to go faster than that? That's pretty much this experience right now with these drivers. They're having to have the throttle control of a saint. Saints are good at throttle control, apparently. Coming down there to Les Combes. Easy through there. Look at the braking again, just easy on each pedal. No sharp movements. That is the enemy in wet. Any sort of sharp movement, any sort of sudden change in weight distribution, that's when the bad things start to happen. Let's have a look at what he does down to Rivage. He's on the brake quite heavily at first. He uses the downforce a bit to slow down, but peels off very, very quickly. Now coming around Rivage, and of course to No Name. A quick reminder, by the way, on the left-hand side of your screen, we are live in 7 different languages. We want this to be as accessible as possible. So if you're thinking, you know what, I'm bored of that Tom Brooks, no, I don't blame you, then go, go and check out the other streams as well. But leave a like here while you're here, why not?
I don't blame you there, Jimmy, to be honest with you. I mean,
I love you, really.
Well, we have worked together all year, you know. Anyway, I'll tell you somebody who I was expecting a little bit more of was Rayan Derouge. He's down there in 12th place. Jonathan Wong as well, similarly not having a good run of things so far. Either they're not comfortable with the car, the conditions, or whatever it might be, but we were really expecting more of them. This is the point standings on the right-hand side of the screen as it would sit if the race finished right now. It would leave Mikael Hazau with a 4-point advantage over Takuma Miyazono. Baptiste Beauvoir not too far away. The crucial point to remember here is, of course, we've got one more race and then we have our grand final. The grand final is double points, so it's still all set to play for here. Just because Mikael Hazau may potentially take 2 from 2 as things stand, it doesn't necessarily mean that he has got it all wrapped up in one.
Yeah, it's good to have any sort of advantage, though. If you go into the final with, 5 extra points, that's still 5 extra points, even if the last round is double points. So it's just good to do as much as you can in these early stages to prepare you for that grand final. It still seems pretty static out there this time. We kind of get this in the wet races a bit. It always threatens to turn into something spectacular, but we haven't quite got there yet. I'm hoping it does before we get to the end of lap 8. Here's Baptiste Beauvoir again. He's really shown a turn of form as Baptiste. We saw him at previous events, just not really quite able to get into that top 3 or even the top 6, but now he's here. He's in 3rd position on merit and putting away from reformed Patrick Bajan, we should say as well, and managing just about to stay with Takuma Miyazono.
Well, if you watch Baptiste in our top 16 Superstars races, otherwise known as TRL Susu, as we commentated on him throughout the course of 2019 as well, you'll know that Baptiste Beauvoir has been very impressive in the European region. That is why he is here tonight as well, and it is great to see him performing in the top 3 positions. Just to give you an idea of lap times at the moment, last time around Mikael Hazau 2:18.491, Takuma Miyazono, who was in second, at 2:19.341, and Baptiste Beauvoir, if you want an idea of how close it is between those two drivers, that was a 2:19.343, just 0.02 of a second separating those drivers.
It's close, but of course, in terms of that time isn't everything around here. It's all about the actual finishing position. That's what I always say to myself after having a bad qualifying session anyway. Here he is coming through No Name there. It's Dix now, isn't it? I keep calling it No Name. It's just years of calling it No Name.
Old habits die hard, Jimmy.
Yeah, I know. You can see how slippy it is, though, just coming off the corner there. You have to be so careful on the power. The thing with wet weather driving is that it's mentally exhausting, both, of course, in real life and in sim, because it is just one mistake. All it takes is one, and that is you spinning or maybe going off into the barrier or just losing time to the guy behind you. And right now, I'm just looking at my relative. Miyazono is actually starting to gain slightly on his out. The gap's come down for about 4.5 seconds to just under 4, so maybe there's a mistake there in the middle from Mikael, as I said, of course. Here's Sergio Lopez, fan favourite. He's had driver of the day twice in a row. I think deserved both times, to be honest. But right now, a little bit underwhelming. Currently in 6th position, unable to move forward. Not being caught so much by Salvatore Marugino behind him either. So what do you do if you're co-care right now? I guess just keep pushing forward. Try and maybe get a snifter of a slipstream from Cody, but not quite close enough.
He's kind of in no man's land here, isn't he, really, Koke? He's not close enough to attack Cody Lukovsky. Far from it, in fact. 2.7 seconds he is adrift. But Salvatore Marugino is a second adrift behind there as well. Between P6 rather, and P7, I should say, between these drivers. Now, keep an eye out for Marugino, because it'll be interesting to see whether he is able to close that gap down. Talk us through the risks, though, around this circuit in the wet here, Jimmy. What are sort of things, for those who perhaps aren't so familiar with sim racing, are you looking to avoid? Where are you looking to aim for with this car? And what should you expect with the car's behaviour, especially in these conditions?
I think the best way to describe it is that when you're in the wet conditions, the car is just a lot more slippy. There's a lot less grip out there. So anything that requires grip, so turning, braking, and of course acceleration, that's all a little bit more difficult than it would be in the dry. And also, if you are following someone, you're getting a face full of spray, which hampers your visibility as well. So You go from having very extreme, very quick inputs to having slow and methodical ones, and just being as smooth and as careful as possible on every input. Because as I said before, if you have a very sharp input and you have a change of weight very quickly, then the car is not going to like that. You're going to understeer or you're going to oversteer. You're going to have some sort of drama, and that's what you don't want. You want to just be focusing on the car in front. And to the credit of everyone here, everyone is driving extremely well in these conditions, just not able to move forward.
Well, this is the thing as well. You can see drivers there using the curbs, using the white lines as well. Just how slippery are those in these conditions? Incredibly so, aren't they? They really are. Nikola Lukovsky coming down then through Podium. You can see at the moment down in towards that left-hander and in towards the Fagnes chicane, which follows. Doing a really good job there is Cody. You can see there, I was just saying about using the curbs and the white lines, and he's taking it very gingerly through that Fagnes chicane. In dry conditions, you probably see them mounting the curbs and clipping those bollards. Here, everybody's just having to use their noddle a bit more.
Yeah, the cars are a lot more agile in the dry, and I'd actually go and say a bit more fun in the dry, to be honest, because that's what the cars are designed to do, really run very quickly in the dry, and then wet, so just it's kind of adapted to that. And we see that in a lot of the series today. Great view there of the Michelin wet tyre as we come up towards Blanchimont. Is it flat in the wet? Let's have a look. No. Yeah, that's a very, very simple answer there to the question. Flat, a little bit of a lift on the way through. Sometimes you have a little bit of confidence lift as well if you're feeling a little bit spooked by going through there. Cody, I'd say, still about the same sort of gap through there. Again, transitioning through there. And now just, again, look at the throttle input. Not until it's at the top of third gear to start unleashing the entirety of the horsepower this super Formula car has to offer. Now coming through the source, this is the penultimate lap now. I've got to say, it's been a little bit quiet this race, isn't it?
It's not been the most action-packed one that we've seen. I mean, I hark back to one of the wet races we had earlier on this year in the World Tour event in GT3 cars in the heavy wet conditions. That was pretty mega. This one, a little bit more static, but the drivers, of course, just taking it very sensibly. There's a lot of risk here. There's a lot to lose here as well. So that is perhaps why we're not seeing so many on-track battles. And, of course, the pace difference between these drivers as well. We were talking earlier on about Mikael Hazal. His fastest lap time has been a 2:18.491. His last lap was a 2:18.876. He's the only driver lapping within the 2:18s. Everybody else in and around the 2:19.3s, 2:19.4s there and thereabouts over the course of the last lap or so. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because clearly Mikael is looking the more comfortable of the drivers. That is why he's got a 4.5 second advantage out front.
Yeah, here's Danny Solis right now, and by his own admission, he thought, well, maybe I shouldn't be here in this final, but currently he's ahead of a World Tour winner, Nico Rubler, at the moment, and is running 8th position. I think the only American we've had for quite some time in a final event. Great to happen here, of course, all the way from the US, and a lot of these guys, including Miyazono, of course, up there in second place, and Lukovsky and Danny Solis and Nico Rubler, Jonathan Wong as well. They're quite jet-lagged, all right? They've come all the way around the world to be here. They're quite out of time zone as well, and still performing relatively well. I mean, when I went to Tokyo,
you fell asleep during the briefing.
Yeah, there's pictures of me asleep during briefing. So I don't know how these guys are here and racing, and also just being incredibly quick. It's hard to sometimes contextualize the speed of these guys, but I can guarantee you, anyone in here who is not in a red uniform could not touch these guys.
No, that is why we're wearing blue.
Yeah, just to identify us. Like, these are the slow guys. Look.
Yeah, goodness me. I mean, it is hugely impressive. And this is the thing, is that although it might not have been the most exciting race we've ever seen in the World Tour events here tonight, it's a concentration thing, and these guys, their eyes are going to be on stalks at the moment, just looking for every opportunity to try and take as much advantage as they possibly can. Mikael Hazal comes over the timing line to start the final lap then here at Spa-Francorchamps. Down in towards La Source we go then, and it's just been a brilliant drive from Mikael. He got himself out in front in the opening stages, started from pole position. He hasn't been troubled ever since then. He's just slowly been able to increase that lap after lap, and in fact he was fastest of all last time around. That was his fastest lap in the course, over the course of this 8-lap race, a 2:18.365. So although we were expecting the rear tyres to get a little bit chewed up in the closing stages, clearly Mikael has just been that much more comfortable. He's kept that life in his tyres, and that is why he has been so quick and so dominant over the course of this race. 5.5 seconds Mikael Hazal now has over Takuma Miyazono, and Baptiste Beauvoir 1.5 seconds adrift there in third place.
And you're probably wondering why he isn't slowing down. You think, no, he's got a bit of a gap now. He's got a bit of a gap at the moment, so maybe why not just chill out and be easy? Because if you do that, you get complacent. You can make as many mistakes by trying to slow down as you can by pushing hard. And you might notice, by the way, speaking of pushing hard, that the little lights around his roll hoop have turned red. He's got no more boost left, so he's been using that, I think, to make the gap. Maybe just to keep himself busy. It's really very difficult to keep yourself concentrated when you have a gap the entire race. And look how committed he is. He's so confident through all these corners. He's got a 6-second gap now. I'd say, if I were you, Mick, just, focus on what you're doing. Look at his heart rate, 107 beats per minute. He is that, in comparison to some of our other drivers, up in the 160s yesterday, 170 for Daniel Solis. He's chilled. He's just chilling out. He's just doing this thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's in sleep at the moment there, Mikael Hazal. We know he doesn't get flustered a lot there, does the German driver, and so it has proven to be the case here in race 2. Takuma Miyazono hasn't had an answer for him. We now are right on board with Mikael Hazal. A dominant display of driving for the German driver, and just a few more corners from home here for him then in Spa-Francorchamps. This has been just hugely impressive, and what he needs to do, of course, to take that crown here this weekend.
It does. So then, one step closer to Nations Cup victory for Mick Hazal. He rounds the bus stop for the final time. Nice and easy in the power here, and he'll drive to the line. Mick Hazal takes the win then in race 2. 2 for 2 for Mick. He'll be very happy with that. Behind him, Mizono just about holds off the second there for a late charging Baptiste Beauvoir. Patrick Blajan will finish 4th. Cody Nikola Lutkowski, another 5th position for him. His title hopes are slipping away. Keke Lopez 6th. Salvatore Maraglino in 7th. Daniel Solis, the American, 8th. Rubelar 9th. Giorgio Mangano 10th. Jonathan Wong in 11th, and Ryan DeRouche all the way down in 12th position.
We're talking about redemption for Jonathan Wong and Ryan DeRouche. It couldn't have gone worse for them at all. Could have down in 11th and 12th. It has not been a day at the office to remember here so far. It has been for this man here, though. Mikael Hazal, the German-Turkish driver. A shake of the hand there, but I think he's pretty calm and relaxed down there. We saw his heartbeat. Of course, tonight we had Lamborghini announcing their brand new Vision Gran Turismo car. More Lamborghini to come, though, here tonight as part of our world final event in the 2019 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. Stay tuned for a little bit more of that later on. But that was exceptional driving from everybody up and down the field. We're used to seeing people making mistakes under those sorts of conditions, especially with the pressure that's on them here tonight. But no such luck for these guys. No opportunity for anybody, really, to make an advantage.
Yeah, I'll freely admit it wasn't the most exciting race that we've had here in the World Tour events, but this is part of the process of finding our fastest driver in the world. We have to challenge them in ways that really test their ability, and driving these Super Formula cars at Spa is one of those ways. So here was Cody Nikola Lutkowski, just couldn't quite move up the field from 5th position, and that's 2 5ths in a row now for Cody. He won't be happy with that. This is someone that we thought would be a good, a title challenger here. Here was Mick Hazal coming on to his penultimate lap, and just looks so calm and collected. He was shaking at the end there, he said there, but I don't believe that. He seemed very, very easy there. Straight away, shake of the hands there to Cody next to him. And here are our results for race 2.
Mikael Hazal takes the spoils. Back-to-back victories for the German driver. Takuma Miyazono 2nd. Baptiste Beauvoir there in 3rd. Blajan, Lutkowski, Lopez, Maraglino, Solis, Rubelar, Giorgio Mangano, Jonathan Wong, Ryan DeRouche down in 11th and 12th place. What happened to Giorgio Mangano in that one? He was relatively impressive, actually, in the first race. And likewise, Nicolas Rubelar, he'll have been hoping for a bit more fortune over the course of race number 2. But maybe they can turn things around in race 3, which will be coming up very, very shortly here.
So then, we are going to be having a headset interview very, very shortly with one of our drivers. Not quite ready for it yet, but we'll get into it in a second. I wanted to very quickly also talk about just the... Oh, he is ready. Sorry, I'm being told he is ready. That's what I get for trying to stall a bit. Danny Solis, are you there, my friend?
Hello.
Oh, he is. Hello, Danny. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. So, another race, another 8th position. How was it out there? I mean, it looked pretty dire. How was it to drive?
It's really scary. I don't like it. I'd rather be in the comfort of the dry weather. That's for sure. It's really treacherous.
How is it to drive around all these names? You know, you're with the best in the world. In fact, you are one of the best in the world because you're there. How is that in the back of your head when you're driving, or are you just completely focused on what you're doing?
Honestly, I don't think about it too much, but just being here, like here on the day, is something really surprising to me because I have a lot of respect for all the guys up here. They're all incredibly quick. Most of them are way better than I am. So it is nice to be here. I still don't think I should be here, but I guess I have some solid finishes so far. My goal today was just to get points from one of the races, so I've already got them in 2. So I guess I've accomplished what I set out to do. the podium that I got with Alfa Romeo yesterday was all I really wanted. So I'm glad that I'm here and fighting with the big boys.
I'll tell you what, if you say you're not meant to be here again, I'm going to get Julia to come down and give you a bit of a slap on the back there. That's definitely not true. One more question for me. We've got 2 more races coming up. Next one is, I think it's fair to say, a bit of a slipstream battle. What's the plan from here? What can you do?
Not die at the end of the Mulsanne straight. I think that's the goal. I think that's everybody's goal, but we're going to try and make it through here cleanly and just try to make it to the end. I know there's a little bit of fuel saving involved, or at least I think most people are going to do that. So I think the strategy here is just going to be to try and stay in the tow, try not to lose it.
Well, thank you so much, Danny, for your time. Appreciate that, and best of luck in the upcoming races.
Thank you.
Well, it has been solid from Solis so far in the World Final event. Oh, you see, I'm a poet and I didn't know it. Look at that. Let's head over to Julia, shall we, before we get race 3 underway and just get an update on how things are sitting so far.
Well, yes, I mean, honestly, everyone was concentrating so hard in that race, and I really feel like now that they've done really, really consistently there, and they were sort of like just being a little bit reserved, that now they're kind of led off the leash for the next one. It's going to build into a giant crescendo, and I'm very, very excited. Let's take a quick look at the time run of where we are in today's Nations Cup final. So that was our second race down. We are so close to the end. They can almost taste it, I'm sure. We've got one more race, and then, of course, we have our grand final, which is worth double the points. So things are really going to, well, potentially get mixed up in that grand final, depending on how this next race goes out. Don't forget to let us know, excuse me, or your Michelin driver of the day. Who do you think is going to be using the hashtags and the URLs below? Obviously, Coque Lopez got voted twice. We think it might be something to do with his hair. The internet seems to agree. I was talking to Williams Esports actually on Instagram today about maybe he should have like a different hair color depending on like where he places within races. It's just a thought. I mean, we could have like a little dye stand here. I mean, just to, just jazz it up a little bit. I'm sure he'd be well up for that. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube as well, Gran Turismo TV. And speaking of the last race that just happened, Jimmy himself had a little bit of a go on that as well and has a kind of track guide for those exact conditions. I don't think you did very well, Jimmy, I think was pretty much the feedback from that. So that will be entertaining to watch in the next week. But yeah, we're almost ready to kick off race 3. But before that, we've got a little bit more Lamborghini for you, as if you didn't have enough.
Honestly, when I think of Lamborghini, I just think of sleek, exotic style. Probably the most attractive Italian supercar.
I think Lamborghini stands out over its competitors because it's prestige. It's good. It has got that Italian heritage. It is the bull. There's always something unique about Lamborghini.
In Gran Turismo, I really like to drive the Lamborghini GT3 car.
Current Group 3 Huracan.
Probably the old school Lamborghini Countach.
Maybe the Diablo GT, and as well as maybe the 25th anniversary edition of the Countach. Oh wait, I forgot the Miura too.
The Huracan GT4, it has that sliding thing from MR cars, but it's actually a 4-wheel drive, so it feels really good to drive.
My expectations about the new Mission Gran Turismo is like feeling already excited about it. Being a mechanical engineering student, I'm always interested to see the technical parts of it.
I hope I'm going to be pleasantly surprised. I think it's going to look great.
I expect something really powerful, really super grippy, and something kind of futuristic, I would say.
Maybe the best Lamborghini ever made.
So beautiful, so aggressive.
Lamborghini, of course, a brand new Vision Gran Turismo car unveiled tonight in the flesh in Monaco. What a striking looking thing.
I mean, I can't get over that. I mean, I want to see that go around the track. That's what I want to see.
You want to go up to it and lick it, Jimmy, to be honest.
Is that not normal? All right, fair enough.
Goodness me. Right, away from that, over to race 3 of the World Final of the Nations Cup here tonight then. It's going to be a pretty exciting one, this one. Lots of strategy to take into consideration. Le Mans circuit, no chicanes, though, in the Mazda LM55 Vision Gran Turismo cars. The Group 1 machines racing hard and medium tyres available for these drivers over the course of 6 laps, 5 times fuel consumption, 12 times tyre wear. You can see the penalty lap down there just before the Ford chicane and the Corvette curve, and they must use each tyre compound for a minimum of 2 laps here.
Now, that uninterrupted straight all the way down from 8 to 9 is going to be fuel consumption is going to be the name of the game round here. Tyre, not so much, of course, so you can see the strategy on screen. As long as you're with someone, you're going to get a tow around the track. And you see a full tank is worth about 4 laps around here, so the drivers will have to refuel. How much depends, of course, on where they are in terms of slipstream.
No, exactly right. It is going to be the name of the game, of course, here for these drivers. I'll tell you one driver who needs a bit of a confidence boost. Cody Nikolakowski. We were expecting to see great things from here tonight, but it hasn't been so good for him. This is a quote we got from him earlier on in the week. I believe I have the speed. I just need that confidence boost at the start and make that last through the entire race. If I can do that for the time here in Monaco, I think I'll be in a good spot to possibly contend for the world title, where he is going to have the mother and father of all third races and indeed the grand final here tonight to try and topple Mikael Hazal. Let's get ready, shall we, and get race 3 underway for the world final of the Nations Cup here in Monte Carlo. The third race of the evening in the Nations Cup for the world final of the 2019 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. And the grid here tonight lines up like this. Mikael Hazal starts on pole position, of course, after finishing the race 2 races on pole. Takuma Miyazono lines up alongside him. The Japanese driver, what can he do from there? Baptiste Beauvoir is in 3rd position. The Frenchman on home soil here at Le Mans as well. Patrick Blajan lines up in 4th place, the Hungarian driver. Had a good run here so far tonight, very consistent from him. Cody Nikolakowski, we were just talking about him. Maybe a confidence boost is what he needs, and maybe he can get that here. Koke Lopez, I should say, lines up alongside him in 6th position. Salvatore Marachlino, a huge cheer from the Italians down on the floor. Danny Solis in 8th place alongside him. Next row of the grid has Nicolas Rubilar in 9th position. As we get to the lower half of the grid, we look at 10th place of Giorgio Mangano. 9th overall in the standings as things sit. Jonathan Wong from Hong Kong, China lines up in 11th position. And right to the back of the grid from France, it's Rayan Derouche. Maybe some local knowledge here tonight in Monaco will help him out.
Now, it seems that everybody, bar Patrick Blajan, has opted to start on the Michelin hard tyre. And of course, I think what this means is that everyone's going to try and stay in the slipstream. Speaking of slipstream, Takuma Miyazono, he's going to be in the prime position here to get up into the lead on the first lap. But it is going to be just one big slipstream battle. Do you want to stay behind, or do you want the guy in front run his fuel down so you can try and get him in the pit stop? It's going to be a high-speed game of chess here at Le Mans.
So then, coming round through into the final series of corners. Jimmy, what should we be expecting here from the start of this race?
I don't know, it's a hard one to pick at this point. I wonder if people want to try and be aggressive at the start, try and make up position, or again do what I say, try and save a little bit of fuel. Regardless, we're going to find out very, very shortly as Mick Hazal leads us through the last chicane for the 3rd time. So 3rd race here at the World Final at Monaco for the FIA GT Championship Nations Cup is about to get underway, and Mick Hazal, of course, leads us over the line. The French flag there painted out in the sky by the jets overhead as we run down to the first corner for the first time. Miyazono looking very aggressive, already looking to the inside of Mick Hazal, and he will go up the inside. Takuma Miyazono with the pass almost instantly there, up into the lead. Now, of course, that's good for Miyazono in terms of track position, but that's going to allow Mick Hazal and the guys behind him to have the tow down the straight. So maybe already a little bit of strategy there. We know Mick's a bit more aggressive than that. He kind of let that happen a little bit. So maybe Mick is thinking of a long game.
Baptiste Beauvoir is looking very racy here at the moment. Rayan Derouche's weekend goes from bad to worse, down in 12th place. He's got a penalty already for exceeding track limits. On board we ride then with Mikael Hazal coming down the Mulsanne straight, and this is where we're going to see the slipstream come into effect. Let's see what will happen then. Is Mikael Hazal going to be close enough over the course of this one to try and close up onto the back of Takuma Miyazono? It's a very long run coming down the Mulsanne straight, so he should have enough time to try and make an advantage.
Yeah, just full throttle all the way down here, of course, grabbing the slipstream down as well. I'm interested to see what his throttle pedal looks like now, because we're up to nearly 380 kilometers an hour. That's about 230, 240 miles an hour if my conversion is correct. Probably not. And still increasing, nearly 285 kilometers an hour. And now you see a lift of the pedal there from Mick. He decides, you know what, I'm actually going to try and get by here. Goes around the outside, goes by in a straight line. Almost a little bit of side-to-side contact there between the two. Look at the speed as they whiz by our camera, my word. And in the background, looks like that Patrick Blajan is trying to move up on both of them. Baptiste Beauvoir goes by both there, up into 1st position. Now they're going to brake properly down to Mulsanne.
can they do? Mick Hazal caught in the middle. Beauvoir takes the lead out of all this, up into first. Miyazono down to third place, and Cody makes his way up into fourth.
That's the Cody Lukovsky we're used to seeing. Brilliant stuff from him. Patrick Blajan's on the medium compound of tyres, and he needs to make gains while the sun shines. And here we go then with Mikael Hazal drawing alongside. Side by side they come down in towards Indianapolis. Group 1 cars, of course, prototype vehicles, low wind resistance, and now the lead for Mikael Hazal as he gets through on Baptiste Beauvoir. Miyazono on the inside of Beauvoir.
Contact.
There was contact through the left-hander, and that has ruined Baptiste Beauvoir's race. Disappointment for the Frenchman on home soil. You can see the visible frustration for him, and now he has got a lot of work to do down in P11. The incident is under investigation by the stewards.
Slam dunk penalty for Miyazono, in my opinion. You can't really force someone off the circuit like that and expect not to get away with it. But here we are then. So Mick Hazal leads after that drama, and look at the gap that's created in behind him. Almost a second there between him and Cody Lukovsky. Miyazono there in third position, though I doubt he's going to stay there much longer, especially if he does get awarded that penalty. Great on-board shot. Look at the speed coming there through the Porsche curves there. That rotary engine singing away in the back of the car. Great to hear it reverberate around the walls of Le Mans once more. Not been that way since, of course, 1991. The year I was born. I feel old now.
Remember it well, do you, Jim?
Yeah, oh yes. Back in my... No, let's not go down that route. This is going to be go downhill very quick. Here's a replay. Here's back to Beauvoir. Look to the inside. Here comes Miyazono. Biff. Off to go into the ground.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think you're spot on there with the penalty being awarded there to Takuma Miyazono. Surely it's only a matter of time before the stewards deem that to be the Japanese driver's fault. There you can see him on your screen, left-hand side at the moment, down in P3, but is that going to be P3 shortly? Let's wait and find out. Of course, we're racing these Mazda LM55s. Yesterday here we had Mazda unveiling their RX-3 GT concept car. That was a hugely exciting day. If you didn't catch it, head on over to our broadcast from yesterday, of course, after tonight has finished, and have a little look at that, or head on over to gran-turismo.com and you can check out all the latest announcements and news to do in the world of GT. But we ride on board with Takuma Miyazono as things stand in P3. Danny Solis and Nicolas Roubillard. Penalties for both of those drivers. Haven't seen what that's for, presumably for track limits, as we haven't seen any investigation coming up.
Oh.
4 second slowdown penalty for Takuma Miyazono. So that is going to drop him right to the back of this gaggle of cars as things stand. The penalty zone, of course, is in the final sector. It's going into the Ford chicane, but now Takuma Miyazono draws alongside Cody Lukovsky and goes through. But actually, there's a penalty zone beforehand here for Miyazono. He's going to serve that coming through now, and he is going to drop right back down the field. That is a huge shame for the Japanese driver, who is going to have it all to do with 4 laps remaining here in Le Mans.
That might be what Mick Hazal needs to pull away, because at the moment Coque Lopez up into third place. Where's he come from, actually? I've just noticed him there sneaking up the order, as Coque Lopez always does. Lukovsky's going to have to act as a bit of a slingshot here and to try and throw someone basically at Hazal. Go and catch him, you know, because they have to try and work together a bit here. Come through the Mulsanne corner. It's really tricky slowing down for that corner, because you're used to going a lot slower than 380 k's when braking for that. I saw in practice pretty much everyone make a mistake down there when the drivers were trying to get used to the extra speed. But as things stand, the live point rankings would look like this if the race ended. Mick Hazal have a big lead going into the final race. Coque Lopez there up to second place. He's come up from the from 6th place on the grid up to second, and now he'll be the one trying to chase down Mick Hazal. Now I think what needs to happen here, I say this a lot on the streams, because this is what needs to happen to catch a leader. They have to work together. Don't squabble too much, lads. If you do that, that's what Mick Hazal exactly needs to pull away.
So then out of the right-hander we go then. Jonathan Wong meanwhile goes down the order into P10. Nicolas Roubillard, the Chilean driver, making his ascension through the field from momentarily. Baptiste Beauvoir now gets ahead of him up into P8. Of course, Beauvoir making his ascension back through the field after that contact we saw on lap 1. Through the Porsche curves we go. On board here with Cody Nicola Lukovsky. He's in the dirty air of Coque Lopez, so of course while they've got the slipstream and it's great on the straight, it's horrible in these corners. You've got dirty air going through there. It causes the cars to understeer like nobody's business. Through the left-hander we go, and that is where Lukovsky is going to lose the most amount of time. Of course, he'll be in a prime position to try and gain it. Meanwhile, there's an incident under investigation between Nicolas Roubillard and Jonathan Wong as Hazal comes into the pit lane on the hard tyres. Does everybody else follow suit and get off the hard tyres? Well, Coque Lopez certainly does, as does Cody Nicola Lukovsky. Lukowski. Blažan, of course, is going to make hay while the sun shines and stay out on the medium tyres. Everybody else, though, coming in at the end of lap 2 to change over to the medium tyres for the end of this race.
Patrick Blažan is left without a draft now. He'll be on his own out there on the circuit, and I think that's going to be the nail in the coffin of the Hungarians race. So I have been proven wrong many times before, so I'll be happy to be proven wrong again here. Say a new Michelin tyre going on there, and Rubelar being given a 1-second penalty. So, also, the big part of this race, we have the tyres, of course, but then we also have the fuel. You can see in the graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. We think the tank can do about 4 laps or so. You might be able to stretch that a bit. Unlikely, though. It's a long lap round here. But if you have to put in less fuel in the pit lane, you're spending less time stationary, more time on the circuit, free time.
Salvatore Maraclino being given a half-second penalty for exceeding track limits. Nicolas Rubelar, of course, being given a 1-second penalty due to colliding with another car. Hopefully we'll get a replay of that because we haven't seen it so far. Now is where it's going to count here for Mikael Hazal. He needs to push like he's never pushed before to try and increase that advantage over Coque Lopez to keep him out of that slipstream. He's got a good 2-second buffer at the moment, and coming down the Mulsanne, there is nobody really that Coque can work with because Cody Lukowski is just a bridge too far back. Here is going to be the incident then between Rubelar and Jonathan Wong, I believe, coming down into Indianapolis. We go through into the left-hander. Bit of contact there into the back of Jonathan Wong. Didn't cause him to go too wide. It did cause him to lose a position, though, to Baptiste Beauvoir, and that is subsequently why Rubelar was handed that 1-second penalty.
Yeah, I'd say a bit harsh there, but I think the stewards are really having to clamp down on this contact, especially at these speeds. You have a crash at this speed, it can really mess things up. Now, this is interesting. We have Lukowski there behind Coque Lopez. He is basically got the full whack of the slipstream now. If he can then slingshot Coque Lopez coming up towards Indianapolis, that might be what they need to bridge that gap to Mick Hazal. These guys, again, I say it so much, work together, and you can catch Mick Hazal, who is the kind of the leader when Patrick Blažan decides to come into the pit stop. So I think this is now realistically a 3-way scrap for the lead here.
I'm just keeping an eye on Patrick Blažan because, of course, he was the driver who really went against the grain and decided to start on the medium compound of tyres, and just keeping an eye on his safety time to see whether he's able to pull out an advantage over Mikael Hazal. Of course, he's on old soft tyres, Mikael Hazal on fresher rubber. But if he's able to pull out enough of an advantage, just increase that gap, it might help him in the closing stages of this one when he has to change over to the soft compound of tyres, presumably on lap 4.
He does have the fastest lap time, so he is really pushing at the moment. So this might be one hell of a strategy here for Patrick Blažan if he can make it work. Of course, that tyre is going to start going off now as we get into the latter stages of its life. So the gap now, I'm just watching the gap between Coque Lopez and Mick Hazal. That's one we have to watch because we're starting to get near where the slipstream starts to take effect. Here is Takuma Miyazono, of course, handed that massive 4-second penalty earlier on. He's just about managed to stay on the back of the pack, which means that his race is not over yet. On board now, a great view coming for the Porsche car. Some of my favourite corners in the world. He gets so close that we can almost reach out and touch it. But Takuma Miyazono, of course, a pro, very quick through here. Meanwhile, Patrick Blažan opts to come into the pit lane and pit for the hard compound of the Michelin tyre. I wonder where he'll come out here. So he should come out, hopefully, with a slipstream. We'll see.
I think he's going to come out in the gaggle of this car, these cars that are going on at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out here for Patrick Blažan. He's taken fuel on board. Where is he going to emerge? Out on the circuit, though. Mikael Hazal takes over at the front, 1.8 seconds now ahead of Coque Lopez. Out of the final corner we go. And where does Blažan emerge then? He emerges at the front of this group then, but he's on the hard tyre, of course, here, but he's in 4th place. So it hasn't actually worked out too badly at all here for Patrick Blažan there. Meanwhile, Coque Lopez has been given a half-second penalty here. That is not going to help him out at all because it's going to cause him to drop even further back from Mikael Hazal and into the clutches of Cody Nicola Lukowski on that Mulsanne straight.
Falling back a bit through there. I think the dirty air really getting the better of Cody through the last section. Of course, on board also with Miyazono still. Jonathan Wong in front of us, he has a 0.5-second penalty. So when we get to the next zone, that'll be an easy overtake for Miyazono. But he's going to have the draft now. Let's see if he can make anything of it. These things just continue accelerating. I love how these cars look. As you said, Tom, as if they could actually be involved in a similar class today at Le Mans, of course, the hypercar class, very similar to this. I wouldn't mind seeing this go around, especially with a rotary engine. Unmistakable, Sam, one of my favourites, I think, in the race car.
Who knows what the future may hold, hey. Cody Lukowski, Danny Solis, Jonathan Wong, Nicolas Rubelar being given penalties there. You can see now Cody Lukowski closes right up onto the back of Coque Lopez and he's going to try and find his way past, then coming down to the Mulsanne corner, and it's easy prey there for the Australian driver through into second position at the expense of the Spaniard. Now, Cody Lukowski, you have to respond. You've got to try and close up on Mikael Hazal, and you've got to do it without a slipstream unless unless he and Koke can work together effectively.
So if the results were as they are now, that would mean that Koski would, of course, move up to second in the standings. It's very close between the podium right now and fourth position in terms of points. And Patrick Blajan still in play there, of course, in fifth position, although down in sixth right now on that hard compound of tyre. The gap up to a massive 4 seconds now here. Now, the other side of things, of course, is that I wonder, and we've already had the pits, I was going to say, I wonder if Mick's going to be good for fuel. He's going to go to the end there on that tank of fuel, having not been able to stop again. Meanwhile, look at this train here for fourth position. Baptiste Bourgeois is leading that, and bear in mind, he was down in the back of the field not too long ago. He's worked his way back up again after the pit stop. The pace of the Frenchman is absolutely supreme, but can he then translate that to catching up with Koke Lopez? Look how much quicker he is there through Arnage. This is a man possessed right now, of course, incredibly frustrated, I'm sure, after that instant at Indianapolis on lap 1 with Miozono, but really making the best things. And there is Koke Lopez and Cody Nicola Costi. So he's done a fantastic drive so far to come back up to this point.
Brilliant stuff there from Baptiste Beauvoir here in Le Mans. Meanwhile, you were saying about Mick Hazal saving fuel. I was just looking at his sector times. He was fastest overall in the first sector and the fourth sector, so he's certainly not saving fuel as things stand at the moment. Meanwhile, here is what kicked off between Ray and Darouche. Is this a bit of an incident between them, or is it an overtake? It's Ray and Darouche on the inside of Patrick Blajan and going through into sixth place with the Hungarian driver running wide. So despite starting pretty strongly here, Patrick Blajan, that hard compound of tyres really compromising here in the final 2 laps of this race. He's now dropped from fourth down to seventh.
And bear in mind that Ray and Darouche, I'll try to remember to say it the correct way, I can't roll my R's, of course, so it's difficult. He started last. Where is he now? Oh, Patrick Blajan, that's for a bit of a bug on our timing there, but he started in last position. He's up to 6th, so it's been a really strong race for the French drivers. A bit of a home field advantage maybe here at Le Mans. Still focusing on Takuma Miozono, who's just trying to get through this pack. Under pressure though, big pressure from Jonathan Wong over 10th and 11th place. And Maragino picks up a 0.5 second penalty, just being a bit too aggressive with those curbs out there and paying the price because of it. Meanwhile, Koke Lopez only 1.1 seconds behind Cody. That's a bit wide there coming out of Tete Rouge corner.
Tete Rouge, sorry, apologies.
Took me a while to go through him in my mind, but he's just within the slipstream, so watch that gap there, that will come down.
On the straight then we go there with Koke Lopez. Let's see how the gap does decrease for the Spaniard. Meanwhile, Mikael Hazal in the class of his own, 4.1 seconds clear of anybody else over the rest of this field. Down the straight we go. Koke Lopez there, he's in the slipstream here, but he's a little bit far away. You can see him there just adjusting the fuel and such like on his steering wheel, twiddling away, trying to work out the most effective way to save fuel, because of course they're flat for so long on this Mulsanne straight that it is very crucial to make sure you've got enough fuel to get yourself to the end of the race here. And he's definitely closing up his Koke Lopez here. Coming down the straight there, he's not close enough to make a move, so maybe just biding his time a little bit more, saving the fuel at the moment, and he's going to attack on the last lap perhaps.
I'll tell you what, those rotaries are, they're thirsty boys. I'll tell you that, they like to drink. And of course going down the straight with throttle open for, what, 30 seconds, 35 seconds, even more than that?
Takuma Miozono, meanwhile, sorry to interrupt you there, has just made his way up into P8, so his ascension through the field continues as Patrick Blajan's worsens. You were saying about his strategy not being the right one. You were absolutely spot on. He's down in P10. As we said, he emerged from the pit lane in P4 just 2 laps ago.
There it is. So here's Koke Lopez and Lakoski. So still using the draft to get a bit closer. Here's a replay. Here's Patrick Blajan, Dennis Wallace and Takuma Miozono. So how did he go up here? Goes up the inside of Patrick Blajan. Nice and easy. Just really didn't give any room there, and that was it. And I think Jonathan Wong may have also followed him through using the draft there. So as you say, Patrick Blajan not having a good day here at Le Mans. So here is that little duo right now, or sort of 4 cars actually. Danny Solis leading it there in 7th. Miozono behind in the draft. I'm sure he'll be looking to try and get past the American as quick as he can and try and get onto the back. For him now, it's his damage limitation. Try and get as far up the field as possible and try and get as many points as he can going into the final, of course, our next race coming up after this one. Meanwhile, penultimate lap now, and Mick Hazal is about to start that. He's just coming out the Corvette curve. If you check the graphic on the top right, our little mini-map. 1 lap to go here at Le Mans. Does he have enough fuel? I wish I could see how much fuel he has.
Don't we all? It's a bit tension building here, isn't it? Still on board here with Takuma Miozono as we get ready to start the final lap of race 3 in the Nations Cup. And if you look there, of course, Danny Solis, he's got a 1.4 second gap to the other car in front, which is Rayan Darouche at the moment, as they come through the Corvette curve then for the penultimate time of asking. So it's going to be a bit of an uphill struggle, and running wide out of that corner there is certainly not going to help Takuma as they cover the timeline. A little bit wide there in the background, meanwhile, for Patrick Blajan and Nicolas Rubelar. They pick up half-second penalties, respectively, in 10th and 11th place. And I tell you what, I was just expecting a little bit more from Nicolas Rubelar down there in 11th place. He's not shone at all here tonight.
I think we all were, really. Just a lot of silly penalties from him. Cut tracks, contacts, just really driving very messy. And that's a result you're down in 11th place. You're kind of nowhere in the standings. It's not going to be Nico, I'm afraid, that will be crowned champion here today. But I'm sure he'll come back stronger than ever next season. But we're not quite done with this one yet. Mirazono is going to have the draft on Danny Solis, again coming down the straight. Long, uninterrupted period on the frost. I've got to say, this is where you wish you had earphones inside that Mazda LM55. The rotary engine, as cool as it is, at high-pitched noises all the way down the straight. Might get into your ears a little bit. There you go, Mirazono, easy pass in the slipstream. You can see how much fuel there that Mirazono has left. Only 8 litres to get to the end of this lap. I think he should just about have enough to do that. But of course now, he's the one punching the hole in the air. Danny Solis will be the one getting the slipstream.
Meanwhile, it's all kicking off for second here between Coque Lopez and Cody Nikolakowski. And Lopez now through into second place on the final lap as they come down the Mulsanne straight. Is Lakowski going to be able to retaliate? Sparks fly from the underneath of the Mazda LM55 Vision Gran Turismo car. Down into the Mulsanne corner we go. Hard on the brakes here. Lakowski defends the position. He holds the line. He holds firm in second place. Gets a bit of a poor exit out there though. Cody gets a great one, and that allows him nearly to draw alongside, but he's got the advantage of the slipstream as they head down in towards Indianapolis here. And is Lakowski going to be able to retaliate?
Well, this is a fight now for position. They can't catch Mick, so they're going to fight each other for this second place on the podium in this race anyway. So Lakowski's now looking around the outside of Indianapolis. Not usually a place you want to try and put the car. You end up going wide, and he does it all the way around the outside, puts him on the inside there for the second part, but Coque Lopez holds him there. Can't quite manage it. A great move there from Cody Nikolakowski to go up into second position, but the race is not over yet. There's a long drag down to the Porsche curves, and Coque is in position to pick up the slipstream.
Not the first time we'll have seen incidents at the Porsche curves and drama kicking off. You can see the live points rankings on the right-hand side of your screen as things will stand after race 3 if it finishes as it is. And it's crucial here for Cody Nikolakowski to hold on to that second place to keep himself in contention for this title for the Nations Cup World Championship here. He's doing a good job of holding that pressure, and of course Coque now is in the dirty air. It's not ideal for the Spaniard, but coming through into the final series of corners is the race leader of Mikael Hazal. He has driven faultlessly over the course of this one. Just 3 more corners from home now for the German driver. Absolutely brilliant display of driving. Mikael Hazal makes it 3 from 3 here in Monaco. He wins the Nations Cup World Final Race 3 here tonight and takes his 3rd victory of the evening. Under pressure he was. Cody Nikolakowski holds on for second ahead of Coque Lopez, who rounds out the top 3. Then a dual Frenchman of Rayan Derouge and Baptiste Beauvoir in P4 and P5. That's a great recovery from both of those drivers as they suffered misfortune here tonight. But well, what can you say about Mikael Hazal? Again, no emotion. If it goes his way here tonight, I reckon we're going to see an absolute explosion of emotion from Mick.
Well, I know that he knows he's got one more race left, the big one left. So 3 done, 1 to go. But of course, also, we had a very special guest here this weekend, the one and only 6-time world champion, Lewis Hamilton. An interview coming up with him very, very soon, so stick around.
Looking forward to that here later on tonight. What can we take away there from that race? There was a fantastic scrap for second position between Coque Lopez, Cody Nikolakowski, right to the very end of that one there, Jimmy. Very exciting between both of those guys.
I think what we take away from that is that Mikael right now is almost untouchable. He is so quick at the moment, just putting away easy, and once he's there, there's no catching him.
Yeah, that is it. Let's have a look at some highlights then, shall we, from that race on the opening lap. This is what kicked off as Takuma Miyazono went down to the Dunlop curve, found his way through against Mikael Hazal for the race lead, but it wasn't long before the German driver found his way back past as Baptiste Beauvoir came into the fray here as well and took the lead briefly before going a little bit wide. You can see there it all took place further back as well as Lakowski and Blajan went side by side with one another. Hazal got back into the race lead down at Indianapolis. Now look at this. Miyazono into the side of Beauvoir, ruining the Frenchman's race. Was handed a 4-second penalty, which dropped him right to the back of the field there as well. Here's another look.
Yeah, big shame from Beauvoir there. I think he could have had a possibility of winning this race, but of course Miyazono did not get off scot-free. That 4-second penalty that paid to his chance of the podium.
Down the straight we went, though, meanwhile, with Cody Nikolakowski and Coque Lopez. They were duelling on lap 2, and they were duelling right at the very end of that race. There was Lopez getting ahead of the Australian driver. Here is Baptiste Beauvoir with Giorgio Mangano as they fought for position. Lukovski versus Lopez, part 2 on the final lap. Side by side they went through towards Arnage. Mikael Hazal, meanwhile, a great race from him. 5.8 seconds was his advantage over the checkered flag. He takes his 3rd victory of the evening in as many races. Koda Lukovski, well, he did a really good job there right at the very end of it. Didn't allow Koke to retaliate there in the final sector. And here are the results of race 3.
So as we know there, Mikael Hazal taking his 3rd race win in a row here at Monaco. Lukovski, though, did a good job. Finally, the form we're used to seeing from the Australian driver, 2nd, Koke Lopez 3rd. Rayan Dariush, a great result for him.
Fastest lap on the last lap as well.
Fastest lap, and came from 12th on the grid to get that result. So really, I think my driver of the race there, but Miyazano, of course, down in 7th place, is going to have a big effect on the standings. Speaking of standings, here they are.
Mikael Hazal leads by 12 points in the overall points rankings heading into the grand final here tonight. Takuma Miyazono in 2nd with 30 points. Then comes Koda Lukovski, as you saw Baptiste Beauvoir there as well in and amongst the mix. But here is Mikael Hazal. Let's go down then as we get ready to hit the grand final off to Julia, who is with Super GT.
I am indeed, Tom. Wow, that shook things up a little bit there. Let's talk a little bit, Steve, about the strategy that was involved in that particular race. Obviously, Blajan did a completely different strategy to everyone else. Didn't really work.
I think the mistake there was, choosing the medium tyre to begin with. He really had to attack and get through the pack. But then the problem was, when everyone pitted at the end of lap 2, he had no one around to play with. He had no slipstreams, and that's really important in that race. You see, when someone was behind another driver coming down the Mulsanne straight, they were gaining so much time, and therefore Blajan would have been not gaining that time.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, who do you think? I mean, aside from Mick, who's just absolutely romping through this grand final here, who else has sort of caught your eye in terms of some good strategic moves? Who's kind of impressed you?
Well, there it was actually Koke Lopez. He sort of just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because
he does that.
He
has a tendency to do that. Suddenly, but boom, there he is.
He qualified in last for the final, but then there he was up in 2nd at one point. But Blajan obviously caught the attention by going different. Unfortunately for him, it didn't work out on that occasion, though.
I mean, okay, right. So we are just a few moments away from the grand final. Kind of, what are your thoughts going into that? Obviously, Mick is kind of something. Do you think he can keep that concentration up? I mean, he seems like he's on a total different vibe to everyone else. He's just so focused.
I'm convinced he actually is a robot because he seems emotionless when he's playing, but he's the master of racing from the front. And he qualified on pole. He started first for all of the races. He had a bit of a scare there where someone got past him, but that was okay for him. I think he's good with the pressure. He knows how to deal with it. He's been in this situation before, so I'd expect him to do well in this one.
I mean, I think he sort of turned up with a really strong attitude, even to the point where we're out for dinner. He's like, I'm going home. I just want to focus. He's here to win. It's all lovely. We get to do some wonderful things here, with the Gran Turismo family. But he was like, no, here to win. I'm going to go home, get early to bed. So maybe that's just going early to bed, guys. That's the key to it, perhaps. I don't know. Let's take a quick look at the timeline moving forward. We have had our 3 races. It is now almost time for the grand final. But don't forget, there are double the points, so that could really shake things up just in these final few moments. Oh, I can't believe it's nearly the end. My goodness. Right. But before we do that, and speaking of future champions, let's talk about a current one. We had Lewis Hamilton come down and share some time with us at GT. Let's hear what he's got to say.
I think self-belief is really key to just believing that you can do it, going out there and doing it. I think if you ever have doubts in your mind, that's really where you realize that the foundation is not strong enough, and that's what you need to, I think that has to be at the core. The foundation is very, very important. Try not to have any extra weight, baggage, always having clear thoughts, exercise, making sure you're breathing, keeping your heart rate low, knowing what laps you had ahead, what settings you need, and I've done the practice. Once you've done the practice, then you can be confident to go out there and do the job. Time with your family, I think it's time for yourself. It's a long, lonely road can be, in that not everyone in the world understands what you're trying to accomplish or what you're sacrificing or what you're working towards, and and the difficulties you're constantly battling mentally to arrive with the strength to continue to believe in yourself and all these different things. But it's, when, as I said, when you get to the top of the mountain, it makes it all worthwhile.
Oh man, it really was great to have Lewis Hamilton here. You can see down on the floor the Mercedes-AMG Vision Gran Turismo car, which was unveiled in our European final in Spain last year. It's on the floor here in Monaco. And it does look pretty striking, doesn't it?
Don't want to curb those wheels. I'm just thinking, oh, well, must very inconvenient to park that thing. That's the person that came to my mind.
But you can tell you're getting on a bit now, Jimmy. God, you'll be in a pipe and slippers by the time we kick off the 2020 World Tour. But what a brilliant evening it's been. And, well, of course, one thing we need to mention, our Michelin Driver of the Day. You can vote for your Michelin Driver of the Day over the course of tonight. Hashtag Michelin FIA GTC. Get in touch. Let us know who you think the driver who has stood out from the crowd here this evening for the world final of the Nations Cup. Let's take a look, shall we, at the overall standings as things sit, just to give you another reminder.
So, as we said, Mika Zhao currently with a very strong lead, 12 points over the nearest person, Takuma Miyazono there with 30 after a poor race in race 2. Cody Nicolakowski, a bit of a resurgence there in race 3, sorry. He has only 2 points there to being off Miyazono. Can he get a win here? That's realistically what he needs to try and challenge for overall victory. Same with Baptiste Bourgeois. I think realistically it's down to 4 people now.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, the final race counts for double points here tonight in the Nations Cup. Just one thing to worth bearing in mind. So instead of it being 12 points for the win, it is 24 points. So if it doesn't go Mikael Hazal's way, it's still all to play for at the top of the order. Just because it looks like it might be over, it's far from it.
Exactly. That's why we love this series, this Nations Cup. You can never predict anything, which makes our job really difficult.
Yeah, it certainly does. I'm looking forward to this one as well. The grand final, of course, taking place at the Autodromo de Interlagos in the Red Bull X 2019 cars. They've proved to be brilliant over the course of 2019 as well in our GT Championships. It's going to be exciting to see how all the drivers will fare. High downforce machinery for them, and they're tricky so-and-sos. We had to go in the commentators' race earlier on, and I was facing backwards more than forwards.
I did all right. Talk for yourself, mate. That was great.
For once.
But yeah, racing hard, medium and soft tyres being used here. Each tyre must be used at a minimum of 6 laps. I'm really a big fan of that rule. 22 laps here, so it's a longer race, a bit of strategy coming into play, a bit of pacing yourself as well, with fuel consumption set at ×2 and tyre wear at ×5.
Penalty line, you can see there, down the straight out of turn 3, down towards turn 4. Here are the Michelin Racing tyre predicted strategies. If you start on the soft, you'll be on that for 9 laps. Get as longer use out of that as you possibly can. Then to the mediums, then to the hards. If you do the hards, it'll be hards, mediums, and then softs to the end, and then the other way round if you're on the medium tyres at the start. So that is how we're all expecting it to play out. However, we could see drivers pulling a bit of a blinder and changing things up a bit. Wouldn't be the first time.
We could see that, and I think realistically, we have 2 people that are capable of that. Takuma Miyazono and, of course, Cody Nicolakowski. He has had 3 podiums over the course of this year. So people are calling him Codium now. I'm sure he's not got on the top step just yet, but he's definitely still aiming to do so.
I'm fairly sure I had some Codium from a pharmacy once. But anyway, let's get the grand final underway, shall we then, here for the Nations Cup in 2019. The 2019 FIA Gran Turismo Championships World Final event in Monaco. It is the grand final, one last hurrah, and here is how the grid lines up for the last time this season.
Yes, Mika Zhao, where he's been all evening, starting from pole position. Can he achieve the dream? Looking to stop him, Cody Nicolakowski there in second place. Second row of the grid, Koke Lopez. What a story he's had here, up and down the grid more than I've been in my races. Ryan Darouche there in 4th position.
He'll be starting alongside his countryman, Baptiste Beauvoir, just behind him in 5th position. Then in 6th on the 3rd row of the grid is Giorgio Mangano. Big cheers here for the French and Italian drivers. Behind them, Takuma Miyazono, absolute shocker in the last race. He needs to get up the grid as quick as possible. Danny Solis there in his 8th position that he's been holding pretty much the entire weekend. Then Jonathan Wong there in 9th position. In 10th, we have Patrick Blajan. Very strong start, but has faded slightly over the course of this evening. Salvatore Marocchino will start on the last row of the grid, representing Italy, of course. Then behind him, 12th, but certainly not least for us, is Nico Rubala, the Chilean driver.
Mikael Hazal will start the race then on the soft compound of tyres. Kodolikovsky and Koke Lopez going on to the mediums here, Jimmy. The Red Bull X 2019s. Other drivers on the soft tyres, only Danny Solis, who starts from 8th position on the grid. It's an interesting call, this one, and we should expect Mick to be strong at least on the opening few laps.
Of course, in these prototype cars, lots of downforce rounds here. Mick Hazal is going to try and use that as much as he can on this soft compounder tyre. He's made the right choice, I think, on tyre compound. He wants to try and break away. Doesn't want to be around anybody else. Just try and get his own space on the track, as we see him do. That's what he likes to do around here. And I think right now, Cody and Koke Lopez are going to have one hell of a job of staying with him.
6 World Tour events in 2019. And now it all comes down to this here in the Nations Cup. Hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to get the World Final, Grand Final underway here in Monaco. We go racing for the final time in 2019. The Grand Final for the Nations Cup is underway here in Monaco. Mikael Hazal leads the field over the line, down in towards the first corner, into the centre S as we go. Cody Lukovsky holds on to second. Baptiste Beauvoir and Ryan Darouche looking pretty close, but it's coming out of turn 3 and heading down towards turn 4, where we're expecting all the drama to kick off between these drivers. If they can get a good run out of here, that's where we should see the first overtaking opportunity really taking place. Look at it in the background there, kicking off. I think Wong and Miyazono were looking pretty close to one another, but Hazal holds on to the lead as Marocchino goes backwards. He started inside the top 10 and is now down into 12th place. Meanwhile, Mangano is going side by side with Danny Solis for position. Ryan Darouche and contact into the right-hander. Darouche and Solis go through into 5th place. Mangano gets hung out to dry, and now Miyazono gets ahead of the Italian through into the next position up.
Yeah, great start there for Solis on that soft compounder tyre, but that's what he needs to do, try and get rid of his guys as quick as possible and get into free air. So does Miyazono, though. He's on the medium, looks up the inside of Ryan Darouche there on the left. He's now going to try and go around the outside, hasn't quite got the drive to do that, to get dirty air all the way down the hill here before braking for the last corner. This is so important for lap time here. Get this one right and you'll get a good lap. He's tucked under the rear wing right now of the French driver in front. Looks to the inside, though not quite close enough to make that move. Gets on the curb, gets a little bit sideways, just catches a bit of a smile from him there. Like, oops, he didn't mean to do that. And now he's going to have the draft all the way down the T1. Will he duck into the inside here? He does. Bit of a late reaction there for Ryan, I'd say, but still, Takuma Miyazono goes up into 5th position. Past the Frenchman in the background. Marocchino tries to do the same thing, or Mangano tries to do the same thing, and pushes Darouche wide. So that might be looked into by our stewards.
Well, that is a shame there for Ryan Darouche. He's had a challenging day at the office there. The incident is under investigation between Darouche and Mangano. That incident at the centre S's. And now Koke Lopez has got Danny Solis breathing down his neck, trying to find his way past. Is the American driver up into the right-hander? He's going to try and launch it up the inside here. Side by side they come. And Solis goes through into 4th place as they come in towards the right-handed hairpin. Great stuff from Danny Solis. This is a masterclass, and this is what we saw from him yesterday, and of course in the Nations Cup semi-finals here on Friday as well, just pulling the goods out of the bag, and he's now through, ready to try and challenge for the podium positions. Here's that instant though down towards T1 here, Jimmy. Miyazono on the inside, Darouche on the outside, 3 wide as Mangano was hung out to dry on the outside here. Mangano on the inside, there's no room for him to go. What do you think?
Yeah, just too many into one space. I think I'm probably going to get a penalty to Mangano for not really, it's kind of drove into the side of Darouche, but it may have been that Darouche actually turned him himself. Hard to say. Danny Solis, though, is still making his way up the field, and Giorgio Mangano is slapped with a 3-second penalty. So as we thought there, he was the one that got assigned the blame, and Danny Solis is pushed onto the AstroTurf by Baptiste Beauvoir. Tried going around the outside, couldn't quite make that work. He needs to get past the Frenchman very quickly, of course, in the soft compound tyre. He looks up the inside, coming down the T4. Look how much later he's able to brake. Stamps his authority there on the driver in front, and up he goes into third place right now. So now he has a bit of a clear track in front of him. The only driver in front now is Cody Nikolakowski, and of course Mikhail Hazal with a 4-second lead already. This is a great drive from the American driver so far. You have to wonder though how far he can make those softs last.
Brilliant stuff there from him then. So let's keep an eye out for Danny Solis and see what sort of gap he is able to shrink down to. Cody Nikolakowski sits at 2.1 seconds between these drivers as they come through into the right-hander. You can see Koke Lopez there trying to find his way through against Baptiste Beauvoir. Down the hill they come, and Koke, well, he's going to want some vengeance for what happened last time out. Lost out on second position with Cody Nikolakowski right at the very end of that there race, but it's not proving to be the way for Lopez here so far. He's just not able to find his way past. We were talking about Koke actually earlier on in the broadcast, if you missed it, and saying about how he's a driver who's got definitely untapped potential. In towards the centre rest as we go. Beauvoir goes defensive. Lopez tries to go around the outside, but can't quite hold it through there. Now Koke's going to try and set it up going through turn 3 to try and hold on to the charge and hold on to that slipstream as he comes down the straight then. He's going to pull into the left-hand side. Beauvoir, though, is going to go defensive. He tries to sell him a dummy there. This is Koke Lopez, but Beauvoir was smart through there, but it compromises his drive coming out of the left-hander here.
It does. Now we're coming up into a double right-handed downforce-dependent corner, this one. So if you try and send one up the inside, usually end up just understeering into the car in front of you. Not quite really enough room or grip to go around the outside there, so they stay as they are. Beauvoir 4th, Lopez 5th. Behind them, Mirzone coming back up through the field on that medium compounder tyre. He needs to get a bit more work done here if he wants to try and get anywhere near the podium positions. He's got a lot of drivers in front of him, and interestingly, at the moment, it seems, it does seem that they're all pulling away from Jonathan Wong behind on that hard compounder tyre. So Wong and Blajan kind of acting like a bit of a cork in the bottle for the guys behind them, Mangano and Rubala. Of course, Mangano was served with that 3-second penalty a bit earlier on for contact. Now we go on board with Takuma Mirzone. A great camera, this one. Look how low this car is to the floor. The speed, the sense of speed is absolutely fantastic. We're locked on to the back of Koke Lopez now, getting up to nearly 200 miles an hour coming over the start-finish line. There's a battle in front between Lopez and Beauvoir. Koke looks to the inside. Can he make that move? He does. He slides ahead of the Frenchman there. A bit of contact. Beauvoir still there. Contact between the two. Mirzone's going to have both of them. He goes round the outside of Koke Lopez onto the draft now. Back to Beauvoir, who'll have the speed coming out. Looks to the inside. Oh, I think he might have touched the wall there. Has to come back in. Now looks to the outside, but can't quite make it past the Frenchman.
That was a brilliant bit of opportunist driving there for Takuma Miyazono, taking profit as those two squabble amongst one another. Wasn't quite able to get ahead of Baptiste Beauvoir, but certainly signalling that he is going to throw the kitchen sink at this final race then. Into the right-hander we go. Oh, off the track there for Beauvoir. He's going to have to be a bit careful. If he does that too often, he'll incur the wrath of the stewards with that half-second penalty for exceeding track limits. But Beauvoir does just hold on ahead of Takuma Miyazono. Now let's have another look at what happens. So down into T1, you've got Lopez on the inside here, Beauvoir on the outside. Side by side they came through the centre S. Is Koke into the side there of Beauvoir. There was more contact through the bottom of that corner. That pushed Koke onto the curb. Then Miyazono said thanks very much, had a bit of traction on the outside and went through. Now it all kicked off as we just cut away, and subsequently Beauvoir did hold on to 4th place ahead of Miyazono. But now they've stopped squabbling. Beauvoir's just been able to settle things down a little bit there in 4th place and build a bit of an advantage over Takuma Miyazono of a few tenths of a second.
Bear in mind the midfield section is kind of half dependent on downforce, half on mechanical grip, so there would have been a bit of dirty air there for Miyazono through there, so he would have fallen back naturally through that section. We're with Miyazono now, and now he has the draft again. You see how big the draft is in these cars. There's so much aero dependency here that the hole they punch through the air is absolutely huge, meaning if you're behind them, you get a really nice big draft. Miyazono again closes back up onto Baptiste Beauvoir, coming into this double right-hander, a fantastic corner, a couple of gears down, back on the throttle, let the rear end slide just a tiny bit on entry, and then let downforce take over before nailing the anchors here, cutting to the inside as tight as possible and setting yourself up for a run up the hill out of a left-hander here.
Down through now we go. Baptiste Beauvoir, Mikhail Hazal on the soft tyre, as you would begin to expect. 6.8 seconds now, got a good advantage over Cody Nikolakowski. I think it's fair to say that Cody's doing a very good job actually there on the medium tyres to just hold on to hold off the charge, or I should say, of Danny Solis, who's 1.6 seconds adrift. And those soft tyres are about a second or so a lap quicker than the mediums, so you would expect Danny to try and challenge towards the closing stages of his stint. But look at what the points rankings would be if they finished as they were. It would be Mikael Hazal, a clean sweep. That's the maximum number of points he could get, with 66. Into the pit lane, meanwhile, comes Baptiste Beauvoir. He wants to get off of those medium tyres, go onto the softs for his middle stint, and he'll be on to the hard tyres for the closing stint. Everybody else coming in around in there. Jonathan Wong, Patrick Blajan in, Rand Rouge also changing tyres here as well. And this is where the race kind of settles down a little bit here, Jimmy, and it kicks off again towards the end.
It tends to peak and trough these races, and of course the midsection is usually a little bit quieter. Interesting to see that Beauvoir's going for that soft compound of the tyre. So I think what that translates as is he's going to try and go for track position at the end and then defend on the hard compound of tyre. But track position is quite difficult to keep round here with the two massive straights, Sector 1 and Sector 3. Basically just power sections, so if you're following someone up there, you get a massive advantage, and the tyre compound isn't really going to save you that much. We're on board now with Coque Lopez. Again, another great camera. I love this middle section here. Very easy to understeer this corner, maybe just snatch a brake if you're not running any ABS, of course. Then we go downhill, it's fast left-hander, and you might end up getting a little bit of dirty air from the car in front. Just a gentle reminder, of course, we are live and broadcasting to you today in 7 different languages. There are our Spanish guys, including, of course, Alberto Perez and Lucas Odneff. So if you're bored of us and our antics, which of course, how can you be, then go check out one of the other streams.
There we go. So you can see Cody Nikolakovsky into the pit lane, Takuma Miyazono and Coque Lopez also coming in now here as well. So Solis and Hazal continue on as you would expect. They're going to try and do the maximum number of laps, 9 they can do on those medium tyres before they have to change over. Miyazono comes into the pit lane here as well. Mangano also in the box, and they're changing over. Difference in strategies going on there. Rubelar onto the soft tyres, as is Miyazono. Everybody else onto the harder compound of tyres, but where are they going to emerge on track? Just to remind you, there are the Michelin tyre strategies on the left-hand side of your screen. Lukovsky rather, I should say, is going to come out of the pit lane, but where is Baptiste Beauvoir? Has he been able to leapfrog him? Coming out of the pit lane now we go, and just behind him there is Takuma Miyazono, so Lukovsky does hold on to 3rd place.
Beauvoir, yeah, taking his position there, but of course is now going to be a lot faster than the Australian driver he is chasing. Now, interestingly, if we look at the front of the field, we haven't really spoken about him right now because Mick Hazal was 9 seconds clear of Danny Solis, and they both started, I should say, sorry, on the soft compound of tyres. So right now, Mikael is just opening as big a gap as possible. We've heard stories from Mikael. This is his last chance, really, to have a stab at this championship and try and win, of course, the big prize, our trophy here for winning the Grand Final in the Nations Cup. Because next year he has 20 weeks of study that he's not sure he'll be able to balance with, of course, the esports. Right now, he's looking rather chill. I don't think his mind could be further from those studies, really concentrating on getting just absolutely fantastic laps out of his Red Bull X 2010. Currently has the fastest lap, unsurprisingly, a 1:17.1, extremely quick in these conditions, with a lot of fuel on board as well. So just trying to continue that, I think. But now we're going to have some quicker guys. I say he sets the fastest lap. As soon as I said that, Baptiste Beauvoir is a 16.9 on the soft compound of tyres. So the French driver in 4th is charging right now in an effort to try and chase down Cody Nikolakovsky. And that gap is coming down, unsurprisingly, all the time.
A massive gap to Cody Lukovsky, of course, and Danny Solis, because they have not pitted yet. Danny Solis and Mikael Hazal, who are on the soft tyres from the start. Here is Jonathan Wong versus Coque Lopez, rounding the final corner. Side by side they came down the start-finish straight. Wong going through into 6th position ahead of the Spaniard. Nice clean move there from Jonathan Wong. Good to see him doing a little bit better and faring a bit better now. Mikael Hazal comes into the pit lane. Of course, Danny Solis will have seen that. He's got a good amount of time there in hand, has Danny, to try and react to that. He will have to change over. So Hazal goes onto the medium tyres. Surely Solis is going to follow suit, and indeed he does. Do they take any fuel on board at this mid-stage, or are they going to opt to do it in the closing stages of this one here?
Interestingly, Danny Solis has used more fuel than Mick Hazal, and they're both out there fighting, just doing the same laps essentially. Actually, Mick Hazal is faster, using less fuel, so that tells me that Mick is fuel saving a little bit. He knows that he has a bit of a gap. He's doing that. Look at the speed there of Baptiste Beauvoir. Wow! The soft compound of tyre absolutely obliterating Cody on the hard compound. People didn't even see that coming. He'd look forward. What? Where have you come from? And there goes Baptiste Beauvoir in hot pursuit now of Danny Solis, who just about comes out the pit lane in second place on the medium compound tyre, but now he's going to try and hold off a fast-charging Baptiste Bourgeois. You do not want to see that in your rear-view mirror. Trust me now, coming up to T6, a double right-hander. Here's the view back from Danny Solis, the American driver. A little bit of dirty air there, interfering there with Baptiste through the right hand. It's quite hard to actually pass through this midsection, but the rate that Baptiste is closing, I wouldn't be surprised if he gave it a go. Up the hill now towards the second section. Looks up the inside. Oh, I saw that happen a couple of weeks ago in a certain Grand Prix. Didn't end as well that time, but that time I think Baptiste Bourgeois erred on the side of caution and just made sure to not run into Solis. Up the hill now. We're going to have the slipstream, so it should be just a matter of following Solis up the hill and then passing into T1. But this guy really is on the charge.
Hugely impressive stuff here for Baptiste Bourgeois on the soft compound of tyres. So he's going to attack Danny Solis, who's on the medium tyres, then got the slipstream, he's got the advantage, he's got the grip. He pulls alongside, and it'll be easy pickings here for Baptiste Bourgeois through into second place there. He runs it a little bit hot there, but Solis doesn't have the grip or the traction to try and retaliate. And now Bourgeois can set about closing that gap down to Mikael Hazal. He's going to have a hard task because Solis is trying to retaliate. They're still side by side, but one another. Bourgeois has to take the tighter line into the next left-hander. That'll compromise his exit. Solis holds it, but he's not able to find his way back through, and Bourgeois does get through into second place. That is very impressive driving from the Frenchman here.
That's all it has to be, soft tyre. He needs to get that done very quickly if he wants to try and chase down, of course, our leader. The gap now is 10 seconds between the two after a pit stop. Here it was a bit further down with Takuma Miyazono, again on a softer compound tyre, and Cody Latkovsky. It's quite frustrating when you're on these harder compounds because you can't really defend that much, but it's just part of it. And when you're on that hard compound tyre, you want to try and lose as little time as possible and hold up the guys behind you as much as possible. So we're on board now with Takuma Miyazono, and Danny Solis, again, is the next target for the Japanese driver coming back through the field. He needs to finish as high as possible if he wants to retain an overall podium here at the last race, or the last event here in Monaco. Again, slipstream, you get this great onboard camera. I love this new camera. It's just so much more immersive than the static one we used to have. Here comes the slipstream again, nearly 200 miles an hour. Will he have a dive up the inside here? We know he likes to have a dive every now and then. No, not quite close enough.
Takuma Miyazono driving very well in these mid stages. The soft tyres a lot faster than him, but Solis has a bit of a moment through turn 3 that allows Miyazono to draw alongside him. Then side by side they're going to come down the straight, wing to wing, wheel cover to wheel cover. Miyazono on the inside, Solis on the outside, through into turn 4 and into third position there for Takuma Miyazono. Brilliant driving from the Japanese driver. Then he's through into P3, and now his next target will be closing that gap down to Baptiste Bourgeois. So Miyazono's driving like he's on rails at the moment and is looking as comfortable as we've seen him over the course of this evening. Just to give you an idea of the difference in pace between the different tyre compounds, by the way. Last time around, Takuma Miyazono was a 1 minute 17.1. If you compare that to the likes of Cody Latkovsky, who's on the hard compound of tyre, he was a 1:19.4. And if you look at the fastest medium runner, which is Mikael Hazal, he was a 1:17.8. So there is a big difference in pace between these tyres, about 1 to 2 seconds between each tyre compound.
Yeah, just much more grip on those softer compound tyre. It means you can get on the power area, it means you can brake later and go for the corners quicker. And of course, you have to make sure you use it at the right point in the race to get the most out of it. Current live standings, if the race finished as is, Baptiste Bourgeois would take the second step of the podium from Takuma Miyazono. That would be a great story there for the French driver, who has really performed well at this live event. Someone who struggled a bit, I think, in this last part of it is Patrick Blajan, who's just come into the pit lane to go onto his soft compounder tyre now. See how far he can go on that tyre. I think he's going to go to the end now. So that's his second stop, I think. I will double check when they come back on the pit lane.
To his second stop there for Darouche and Patrick Blajan then. So they go onto the soft tyres for the closing stages here then of this race.
Fueling up as well, they're getting that fuel stop out of the way, so they'll be a bit further back now, but ideally for them it'll be a clear track. So here's Nico Rubelar coming now on up to Cody Latkovsky. There's just not much that Cody can do on that hard compound, a bit standing still compared to the soft. That's what it feels like anywhere when you're in the car. What could have been from Nico Rubelar? Another time he's been at one of his championships, and another time that he's struggled to perform. He's up to 6th now past Cody, but that's kind of a done deal really when you consider the tyre compound differences, but must be disappointing for him. So here is Nico. trying to defend now from Cody. The thing is, Cody does have an opportunity up the hill to maybe try and retake that place, but if I was him, I wouldn't do it. Just try and, again, lose as little time as possible. Cody, I think, is due to come into the pit lane about now. Yep, okay, look, Psychic Jimmy here, finally getting something right. He'll go onto the soft compound tyre for what will be, hopefully for him, a fast finish.
He's going to be looking forward to that soft compound tyre after getting rid of those hards in the middle stint, and he's going to have to push with every ounce of talent that he's got. Coque Lopez also making a similar decision, as does Giorgio Mangano there as well, so they'll be onto the softs for the final stages of this race, and they'll have the fastest rubber underneath them. You can see the fuel strategy as well. The drivers not taking on any fuel on board at the moment, as we think they've all made their fuel changes in the middle stages of this here race. So a little bit more there for Coque Lopez. He takes on a few more litres just to give him, I think, a bit more comfort to the end of it, so he can push a bit harder. There is the fuel consumption strategy, so they would have run out a couple of laps before, so it's only a few more litres that they need to take on board, given the race duration is 22 laps in total here. But out of the pit lane now comes Coque Lopez, just behind Giorgio Mangano there, of course. He'll have the advantage of the slipstream, he'll have the disadvantage of the dirty air in the midsection of the race. But can Coque Lopez do anything now? What about this man here, Mikael Hazal? He's just driven faultlessly all evening. It's hard to overstate just how impressive he has been. He's been putting so much pressure on himself, but his focus has been second to none. And it's the best we've ever seen him drive.
The thing is, though, when you consider the strength of this field, I mean, these are the fastest Gran Turismo drivers in the world. They're all here right now, and this man is gapping them. He's gapping all of them by such a massive amount so far. He still has the hard compound yet to run. Let's not forget that. So the gap will come down a little bit, but as does Baptiste Bourgeois, as does Takuma Miyazono, as does Jonathan Wong, as does Danny Solis. The only person who hasn't done that in the top right now is Cody Lukowski. He has a soft all the way to the end, so he'll be the one coming back through the field, but he's too far back, I think.
You can hear Mikael Hazal, as we ride on board with him, short shifting through those corners there as well, and taking gears in a higher taking corners rather, I should say, in a higher gear than he would need to. He's trying to save fuel. You can hear him there, short shifting through second, through third, into fourth. So he's in fuel saving mode at the moment, which is going to be very sensible because it will allow him to just push a little bit harder at the end of this race. And also depends, of course, on how much fuel he has taken on board in this one.
It's also partly for traction as well. This car has so much power going to the rear wheels that it can be quite tricky to get that power down if you rev it all the way up to the red line. And Mick comes across now to start his 16th lap of 22. This could be an absolutely fantastic result for Mikael Hazal. Right now, he's only 6 laps away, 7 laps, I guess, including this one, from what could be his Nations Cup victory. Meanwhile, the race is still going on. Jonathan Wong looks up the inside of Danny Solis, again using the softer compound tyre. Past he goes. All Danny can do is really let it happen and just try and stay as close as possible.
Damage limitation there for Danny Solis on the medium compound of tyres. He's still got one more pit stop to make in this race. Here is Solis then with Nicolas Rubelar on the soft tyres, closing him down. Just to give you an idea of the difference in lap times between those two drivers. Last time around, Solis was a 1:18.2, Nicolas Rubelar a 1:17.7, so significantly quicker on the soft tyres, and surely it's only a matter of time before the American driver begins to come under threat. Now we've got this man who needs to shine, Cody Lukowski, to try and secure his place in the standings. He's battling, of course, for second and third in the overall standings at the moment, but he needs to, of course, finish as strongly as he possibly can. The advantage he's got, he's made all his pit stops, he's now running to the end of the race on those soft tyres, whereas everybody else in front has still got to make a pit stop. And this is where Cody, whilst he's got clear track in front of him, it'll be quite a welcome sight, I think, so he can just set some good, clean laps. This is Al, the race leader, comes into the pit lane for the final time, goes onto the hard tyres.
Yeah, a bit more fuel on that, I imagine. Just a tiny bit more to get to the end there to make sure it's safe. Baptiste Bourgeois in as well, as is Takuma Miyazono. They're all going to be going onto the hard compound tyres that they have left. As does Jonathan Wong, goes into the medium. I think he started. I thought he started with the medium. I guess he didn't. No, he did start on the hard. Sorry, my brain is terrible. And Nico Rubelar also going onto the hard compound tyre. Interesting out of those, Danny Solis has used the most fuel, apart from Jonathan Wong, which used 2 litres more. So you're seeing our leader out there was basically just cruising around, it seems, at that point, and just saving as much fuel as possible. Let's see where Cody comes out in all this. So he'll be a bit further down the track, but he will have a tyre advantage now. So let's see. We'll wait until everything comes out the pit lane, because sometimes things get a little bit confused. And it looks like Baptiste Bourgeois will come out ahead of Miyazono. He does. Lukowski, I think, is in a net 4th position, and with a much, much faster tyre under his car. So he has only 2.6 seconds to gain to Miyazano and then to Beauvoir. This could be a second place here for Cody quite easily.
This is going to be fantastic to see how Cody Nikolakowski is going to deal with these final few laps in this race. Of course, we saw earlier on in the point standings it was between Beauvoir and Miyazano, but if Lakowski comes shining on through, then he could get himself into second or third in the world final standings here in the Nations Cup. Let's see what the Australian driver is going to be able to do. You can see visibly how much he's just been able to close that gap down in the space of half a lap here, and the focus on his face, the young Australian's face, just 19 years of age he is, and he is pushing like nobody's business at the moment to try and secure himself not only third or second in this race, but in the overall standings here as well. Hold on to your seat, it is not over yet.
I think the pressure he must be under right now, performing on the world stage, only 19 years old, is incredibly impressive. Quite a few young drivers here as well under the same conditions, and look at the gap. It's just in free fall at the moment, down to under a second. He'll be getting the benefit now of the slipstream as well as that soft compounder tyre, helping him get through the corners even faster than Takuma Miyazano. Miyazano is no slouch, but that hard compound, it really is the bogey compound here. We want to try and avoid it at all costs, and right now Cody's found himself on the soft tyre right at the end. Can he catch up with Miyazano? I have no doubt. Can he pass him and Beauvoir before the end? That's going to be the tricky bit.
Just been doing a bit of mental arithmetic over the course of this race, Jimmy, just to work out Mikael Hazal's stat. And out of the 14 races he has competed in the Nations Cup this year, he's won 8 of them. That is a very impressive statistic there for Mikael Hazal. If he does it in this one, it'll be 9 out of 15. Let's cross back to that a bit later on, though. Takuma Miyazano in third position. Cody Nikolakowski finds his way through, up the inside into Junkao. Brilliant stuff there, easy pickings for the Australian. He goes through into the podium with 4 laps now remaining, and he's got a 1.9 second gap to Baptiste Beauvoir, the Frenchman, who is in second position. And look what it means for the standings. One more position for Cody means one more position up in the overall standings, and he will move through into second overall here tonight.
I'm not sure if he will or not. I'm not sure maths-wise. I think he'll just be short. Just be short of second. We'll double check when we get the if Cody gets there. Again, my small brain maths technique isn't usually that
good. Well, it's double points, of course, isn't it? So
it is, yeah. But I'm wondering if it will be enough. We'll see.
We'll find out.
We'll see. Don't trust Jimmy as far as you can throw him.
Don't trust Tom either, to be fair, mate.
Very far.
It's been a long weekend.
It has been a long weekend, but we are speedily approaching its conclusion. Cody Nikolakowski now has locked on to the back of Baptiste Beauvoir, and he is gaining rapidly. Again, the gap now down to less than a second, and through this mid-section, this is where a fresh set of tyres or a faster compounder tyre really shows the difference between the cars. You see how much more confidence Cody has, how much more ability he has to get the car slowed down and put where he wants to on the track.
I'll tell you what, Jonathan Wong made a really good middle stint there on that medium compound of tyres, sitting in P6 at the moment. He's on the mediums towards the end, so he won't be able to quite catch Blajan, and he is coming under a bit more pressure from Ryan DeRouche here, but he's not doing too badly out there at all, is Jonathan Wong. He's been a bit quiet here tonight, not had the luck or the pace that we were expecting from him to see. On the other side of the coin, it's great to see Miyazano doing well, and also Cody Nikolakowski comes out of the final corner, gets the slingshot, pulls alongside Baptiste Beauvoir, and goes up into second place, does the Australian driver. So great driving there from Cody Nikolakowski, performing exactly as he needed to. Is Beauvoir going to be able to retaliate as they come over the timing line, heading down to the first corner? No, the grip of the soft tyres is just too much for Cody to ask, and as you can see there, Cody would inherit second place in the overall standings as it sits.
And that will cost Beauvoir also third position as well, so he goes from second to third there because of that, with Miyazano behind. That is horrible there for Beauvoir, poor fella. But yeah, there you go, maths there, definitely not my strong point, and Cody would get the second place, so one step better than last year. But if he wants to win this, he has to catch Mick Hazal, and even then I think Mick will come along. So right now it's just try and keep second, and then take that second step on the podium. It's not really much that can happen now, bar Mick Hazal having some sort of issue that can dethrone him from this potential win here today at Monaco.
We know it's motor racing, we know anything can happen. I've just got to say that Patrick Blajan not doing a bad job at all there in P5. He's on the soft tyre. He's been steadily closing that gap down to Takuma Miyazano, who's on the hard compound of tyres. This is the resurgence in form we're expecting from Patrick. And is he going to be able to do anything with the last 2 laps?
If he gets past Miyazano, that could allow Beauvoir back onto the podium.
Right, yeah.
So Baptiste is thinking, yeah, pass Miyazano, but don't pass me, please. So it's going to be a very tense last few laps for Baptiste Beauvoir, Takuma Miyazono and Patrick Blajan. Another instant going on a bit further down the field. Won't affect the results too much. And Patrick Blajan now had a bit of a dip in form over the course of this event, but has come back strong here on the soft compound. You can see just how hard the Japanese driver is trying, a bit too hard there. Gets a bit of oversteer as he tries to get on the throttle coming out of T3. Now we're going to have the toe all the way down to T2. Will Patrick go for the overtake? Comes from a mile back, uses the grip of the soft compound tyre. Up he goes into 4th place, and now he will try and chase down Baptiste Beauvoir. Can he do it? He has a lap and a half remaining to catch 2 seconds. This could be it. Could Patrick Blajan sneak a podium here?
Full send from Blajan down into T4. That was great from the Hungarian. Then we're riding on board with him. You can see him jockeying the wheel as he scrambles for grip, going through the left-hander up in towards Junkao. And now he has got it all to do to try and get himself on the podium here in this grand final race, which could potentially dethrone Baptiste Beauvoir from the top 3 positions in the overall standings.
Let's say, sorry, Mick Hazal is coming now to start his last lap. This is all year now, has come to this moment. Mikhail Hazal has less than a lap to go to take the Nations Cup final championship here. I'm sure that's going through his head right now, but he has to stay focused. He still has Lukowski chasing him down. He still has Beauvoir behind and Patrick Blajan. That races are far from over, but only half a lap to go now for Mikhail Hazal.
So then out of the 3rd corner we go, onto the straight. This is where we'll see Blajan trying to strike against Beauvoir. Down in towards the left-hander we go. No opportunity presenting itself there for Blajan. He's going to be in the dirty air in that mid-section of the lap, but of course those soft tyres, we know how grippy they can be. Is Blajan going to have a send down the inside? He's not quite close enough, but he's very close coming into the following right-hander. Beauvoir goes on the defensive. Blajan tries to go the long way around the outside. Can he make it stick? Side by side they come. Beauvoir tries to muscle him out, but Blajan goes through. That is brilliant from there. What's their contact between the 2 drivers? It was mightily close, but Blajan through into 3rd place on the last lap here. Absolutely amazing stuff there. And of course that means for the standings that Miyazono is going to inherit 3rd position. But this man here, Mikhail Hazal, 9 out of 15 races he's won in the World Tour, and he is the 2019 Nations Cup World Champion. Mikhail Hazal, magic from him. Cody Lukowski comes home 2nd, and to the line Blajan takes it on the final lap from Baptiste Beauvoir. In 3rd place, Beauvoir finishes 4th, Takuma Miyazono 5th, and look at the outpouring of emotion from Mikhail Hazal. He put the pressure on himself all weekend, but he kept calm, he kept focused, he kept cool, and he is the 2019 Gran Turismo Nations Cup World Champion.
We don't see much emotion from Mick, and even that was a little bit moderated by his standards, but still you can see what it means to him. A whole year of effort. We thought at one point it was done for him. In New York he had a run-in with Igor Fraga that seemed to really affect his morale, but he came back strong, came back better, came back focused, and this is the result. He is the champion of the Nations Cup here in Monaco in 2019. What a result.
It's so difficult to comprehend exactly what Mikhail has achieved here tonight, and that was mega. Just what a brilliant evening for him. He was faultless all night, didn't make a single mistake, pushed when it counted, had the right strategy, and it's all paid off for him.
I mean, proper domination. The only thing he'll be upset with is that he didn't get 1st in the overall qualifier by 1,000th, but otherwise, he was top of everything, top of qualifying. Race 1, race 2, race 3, and the grand final, all his by some margin. If there is anyone deserving of this trophy, I think it's him.
9 out of 15 races. That is a statistic that he is going to be very proud of here tonight. And, well, we've had 6 World Tour events. It all boiled down to the grand final, and here is how it all played out. Then Mikhail Hazal was on pole position after winning the previous race, led the way down through the 1st corner, went for the soft tyres in the opening stages of that one. Then we could see Baptiste Beauvoir coming to pressure from the soft tyre shot. Danny Solis, who just went full send down the inside at turn 4, through into 3rd place. Coque Lopez, meanwhile, he was sitting in 5th position. He had a shocker towards the end, down in the lower half of the top 10. Here was Lopez versus Beauvoir. This was a really costly incident, actually, for Coque Lopez. Shuffled down onto the curb, no traction. Takuma Miyazono said thanks very much, went around the outside and inherited his 5th place.
It's a great pass here from Beauvoir, just showing the capability of the soft compound tyre right the way outside of Lukowski. Unfortunately for him, of course, Lukowski would come back strong into the race with the soft compound tyre. Here's Miyazono and Dani Solis, who started very well on the soft compound tyre, but unfortunately fell down on the hard compound, finishing way down the order.
You can see here then the battle going on between Lukowski and Beauvoir. Lukowski inheriting 2nd position. At this point, of course, Lukowski was on the soft compound tyres. Here was Blajan on the penultimate lap, going up the inside of Takuma Miyazono. Once again, his favourite passing place down at T4, but this was an almighty move between Blajan and Beauvoir on the final lap. Side by side, they came through the left-hander. I thought they came into a bit of contact there, but it was just such close racing between them as they got on the power. You can see here Beauvoir trying to go up the inside, but Mikael Hazal dominating proceedings in the grand final, winning by a country mile and becoming the 2019 world champion.
What a result. Here's a replay. Oh, there you go. That's what it means. We missed that on the camera, and that's very unlike him, but you could see exactly what that means to finally have that release. It's all done, and there are the confirmed results there of the grand final. Mick Hazal there with the win, of course, from Cody Lukowski and Patrick Blajan. A great 3rd position there. Just wish he had a better mid-event, really. That could have been a lot better. And here are the final confirmed points with Patrick Blajan overtaking Baptiste Beauvoir in the final standings. That means that he fell down to 3rd, and it was Hazal, Lukowski 2nd, and Miyazono taking the last step of the podium. Oh, action to the end there.
It was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? Brilliant stuff there from Takuma Miyazono, getting himself up into 3rd position. Patrick Blajan, of course, the catalyst over the course of that one, right in the closing stage of that one, the final lap. You can't get any closer than that, and those two separated by just 1 point at the checkered flag. What's been your highlight from tonight, Jimmy?
Oh, it's so hard to say.
Magic Mikael?
There have been so many highlights, but, I mean, how can you ignore this domination? I mean, to see that out there, to see that ability to be put on display, and so flawlessly in so many different conditions, so many different challenges, it's just a pleasure to watch.
It has been brilliant, hasn't it? Let's head down then to Julia, who I believe is our winner, Mikael Hazal, our 2019 world champion, no less.
That I am, Tom. Let's have another round of applause. I mean, seriously, Mick, how on earth do you feel right now? Because it's been a long road to get to here. It's been a long 2019. How do you feel?
If I'm honest, it's just I feel relieved because I think so many guys of you saw my tweet recently. Like, this is probably my last World Finals potentially because of my studies.
No, we won't let you. You have to come back.
Yeah, like for next year, I don't know, but for the following year, probably I can participate, like potentially the World Finals again. But yeah, like if I can't do that in the future, I just wanted to give it my best.
So was that on your mind all the way through? You thought, wow, if this is like my last go for the foreseeable, I'm just going to give it everything.
Exactly.
Yeah? Well, I mean, you did it. I mean, you gave it absolutely everything, my word. How did you kind of keep that focus? Because, you know, from the outside, you look really like calm and collected and fine. Inside, what was happening?
Man, before the whole race started, I was never calm. I was so anxious, scared of doing some single mistakes, and then I was only like, mate, you don't have to fuck this up, you know.
Apologies for that. It's an emotional moment.
Because like getting a decent position for the first race was crucial, so that you have a chance of, let's say, winning the first race and starting from pole for the second race. And yeah, it's just I needed to do so many things like together and to work in the end. And yeah, to see that everything works so well, man, yeah, I just can't believe it.
Well, I mean, I have to say it's been a supreme joy to watch you, grow as a competitor. You know, the first time I met you, you were kind of you had this incredible attitude, and then there were points where you could see that you really got into your head. You know, and I think that was kind of your biggest hindrance, I think, in some ways. And to see you come out the other side of that and kind of combat those demons and shut them up so you can truly be your very best is a supreme joy, not just for me, I'm sure, for everyone else here to witness. And congratulations on being the best racer in Gran Turismo today. Let's throw it back to Tom and Jimmy.
Well, there we go. Mikael Hazal, I think it's visible to see the emotion on his face. he's not one that really shows a lot of emotion, but we saw that outpouring at the end with him screaming, and it's so hard to comprehend how he must be feeling at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but smile. Of course, as commentators, we have to always remain unbiased, but you know, I've been around Mick for a long time. We all have. He's been here as part of the series for a long time. Always just one step away from this, and to see him get it, you know, it's a nice moment.
Part of the furniture almost, isn't he? Yeah. And as we said, he put a lot of pressure on himself. You can see there just some highlights from that final race then as we just review it there. Mikael Hazal, just dominant really from start to finish, wasn't touched at all over the course of that one. Soft tyres clearly were a really good call for him starting from pole.
Yeah, we thought they would be as well. Just having that ability to kind of set your own pace, not having to deal with dirty air, anything like that. Just go out there and do the laps. And that's what Mick has always done best, just driving on his own there and just being easy. And you see straight away, gets up, goes over to Cody. And I think it's a bit of a shake of hand. Cody, they're always the first to congratulate. Nice hugs. Nice to see that between the drivers as well. That's what the sportsmanship is all about here on GT Sport. Yeah, you're against each other on track and friends off track.
Mega, just absolutely mega. Mikael Hazal is the 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships Nations Cup champion. Wow, just what an evening. Some great racing we saw up and down the field in that one. Some fantastic overtakes on the soft tyre. In particular, Patrick Blajan to the end, he was not taking any prisoners.
You can't help but feel for Patrick a bit, because if he had not had race 3, he would probably be second or third in the podium quite easily. You saw his points at the end, he was only in 5th position. But that 1 point in race 3 really just threw him off. But you see the fire is there, and again, as it is with Mick, it's a great pleasure to see Patrick Blajan back to where we think he can be.
Exactly that. Right, we are ready then for our podium for the 2019 FIA Gran Turismo Championships Nations Cup. In 3rd place for the 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships Nations Cup, it is Takuma Miyazono! In 2nd place, Cody Nikolalakovsky! Ladies and gentlemen, your 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships Nations Cup champion, it's Mikael Hazal! Your respect, please, ladies and gentlemen, for the German national anthem. Mikael Hazal, the 2019 Nations Cup World Champion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the trophies. Our 3rd place trophy, presented by Jean-Francois Laforge, Michelin Commercial Communications Director. The second place trophy about to be presented by Stefan Filastre, head of brand at the FIA, to Cody Nikola Lakovsky. And now the watch is presented for the winning team on behalf of Tag Heuer, the official timing partner of GT Sport, presented by Olivier Valeri, sports sponsorship from Tag Heuer. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the first place trophy presented by Kazunori Yamauchi, producer of the Gran Turismo series. And it is presented to your 2019 Nations Cup World Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up one more time for the 2019 Nations Cup World Champion, Mikhail Hizal! Huge congratulations to all of our Nations Cup competitors. 28 races, 6 World Tour events, and it all boiled down to this. Thank you so much for joining us in 2019. What a season it has been.
It's been an amazing season. I'm so happy to have been a part of this, to see the growth of all our drivers across the season. Of course, it comes to this fantastic climax. An absolute pleasure. Oh, well, Julia's here. Hello, Julia. There you go. Her mic doesn't work.
Well, stay tuned for the extra lap, all the action and reaction coming up from our 2019 World Final. All that remains to be said is thank you so much for joining us for the 2019 FIA GT Championships.
It's been amazing. We've had such an incredible year. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait for next year. Too soon to talk about that?
Not at all.
Not at all. All right. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a supreme pleasure for you to be and join with us. We will see you again next year.
Bye.
Bye.
I think it's more just kind of relief, you know? It's just all the work, all the sacrifice, all the dedication, the time that you could be out with your friends having dinner, or the time you could be spending with your family, and instead you're in a gym, or you're at an event making sure that you're delivering the best, or you're traveling to the races to be there early, or whatever it may be. So of course these things build up through the year, so when you eventually get to the top of the mountain first, it's incredibly satisfying. It's all you ever dreamed of, and more. And it's just really satisfying. Then you're able to relax and know that you've lived to your potential.
Hello and welcome to the Extra Lap, because we realised that there was just so much going on we couldn't fit it all into the main show. So yeah, welcome back. It's been an incredible Gran Turismo Championship for 2019. I can't believe it's over. I'm joined by Lucas and Adam, who've come to join us and talk a little bit about everything that's just kind of happened, because it all happens ever so quickly. You guys are all shouting and screaming in the booth, and then you forget what on earth's just gone on. But what have you thought of 2019, Lucas?
Well, what a season, no? Different winners. Finally seeing Izal taking the crown after Igor Fraga's title last year. He's been really well-deserved champion and fighting. And as he said before, no, he had to learn from mistakes. And yeah, what a season! Different winners and. Shame for Latowski. He was promising this weekend with qualifying, but no chance after top 12 qualifying today.
I mean, obviously, the story kind of with Mick is, he came in like very, very strong. He got into his head quite a lot and had to really kind of battle with his demons to push through. Obviously, that's true in, motorsport outside of it. I mean, how do you kind of push through those kind of moments?
It's really tough, because generally, like, you're only as good as your last race, but all 4 races he was on fire then. It was
crazy,
unreal.
right?
He was like in a league of his own, basically, and everyone else was just trying to chase him, and each time he won by a little margin as well. And so he was just dominant. I didn't see a single mistake that he made. He made the right choice with the strategy, with the tires, and yeah, he blew them all away.
I mean, we talk a little bit, I think, and you yourself have talked quite a lot about the kind of the state of flow, where it's almost like spiritual, like when you kind of get into that position where you're driving and I don't know, you're aware but not aware, but I don't know. It's in video games we call it flow when a player gets into that state. So it's a similar sort of thing for driving.
Yeah, definitely. So that generally we call it the zone. When you're in the zone and you're just focused, and it's almost like you've got blinkers. You don't even realise what else is happening, and you can compete in a race and it'll be one that you win. You've overtaken a handful of people, and of course someone will ask you about how was the race, and you're just thinking, well, I don't actually know what just happened.
I blacked out. Where am I?
So, yeah, he was on form all weekend, and you've been able to see it that he's just executed everything perfectly and very well deserved.
What was kind of one of your top standout moments, do you think? Was there one that you could see?
Well, it was at Le Mans. Like, he just got his head down and he pulled a gap, and then that was it. Everyone else was just squabbling, trying to fight with each other, and that was the circuit where we was expecting it to be super bunched up because of all the slipstream, and so he just managed to pull the gap, and still the rest were just fighting, and of course it was impossible for anyone to do anything, or it was too late at the end of the race for anyone to do anything.
Yeah. Lucas, what was your kind of favourite moment, do you think, from this final?
Well, for me, it was very interesting to see the strategy from Latowski in the final race in Interlagos. He was really smart, leaving the other guys overtaking him when he was on the hard tires, and the other guys were coming with a softer tire and much quicker, obviously. But he was doing his own race. Obviously, Izal did the job, pulling away with the soft tires at the beginning, but Latowski's intelligence during the race was really important to finish second in the end and grab the podium, because it was not looking great in the first 2 races in Super Formula and with the Nissan GTR. So a great job by the Australian.
I mean, it was absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think Tom and Jimmy are ready, or rather Jimmy is ready with our winners. Let's find out all the things. I want to know everything. Come on, Jimmy.
Well, I'll try my best if possible. Yes, I am joined by our podium here from the Nations Cup. Of course, I've got Mick Hazal to my left, for Koji Nikolakowski, and Takuma Miyazono as well. Thank you all so much for joining us. First of all, congratulations! Podium in the World Final. That's a fantastic result. Congratulations to all of you. I'm going to start, though, of course, with our winner, Mikel Hazal. Mick, long time coming? I mean, what are the emotions right now?
I don't know. Like, after I realized, I still can't believe it that I'm basically the world champion. But it's just, I let all of my emotions out, and then, yeah, I still can't believe it, This is because this was like my main goal to achieve. And yeah, once I finally achieved it, I'm so happy.
I mean, we can all see how much work you've put in to this. And also as well,
physically, you've come back a lot trimmer this year. You've really put work into fitness and other mental aspects as well. Do you, attribute those as well to your win? Did they help?
Yeah, I think so. Like with the fitness, I was kind of like hoping to improve on my mentality stuff, and also because I'm studying like in order to have the hope to help with that mentality for my exams, but then obviously also for the live events here, because you have all the camera guys, I don't know, right next to you when you're basically like driving almost in the front of the field. But then, it's just once we got the document, like the information for the race here, I was practicing like hard because of my studies next year. I wasn't quite sure if I can participate next year too, so I wanted to give 100% or maybe even 120%, and then in the end it's like this.
You look absolutely exhausted now. I'll let you rest for a little bit now. I'll move on to our second place, our runner-up, Cody Nikolakowski. Cody, one step better than last year, so P2 this time. Now I know you. I know how you work. I know you would have preferred to be in mixed position, but still, second place. Surely that's an achievement for you.
I just seem to be getting so many podiums this year, but I'm very happy. I'm very, very, very happy with the result. My qualifying just didn't go how I wanted to in the top 12, but I played it safe, played it smart, made all the right moves and did it clean. That was the important thing. So to anyone that's watching out there, you can see I'm changing in my driving style. Unfortunately, I couldn't catch Mick, but this was Mick's one. He's been working on it for so long. I've been racing with him since 2013. And I have to say, this guy, he's amazing. Amazing guy, amazing driver, and it's an honor to be his friend.
Yeah, that's nice to see that. And this is what we talk about here. This is a great thing about our little Gran Turismo family now, is that, on track, sure, you're competitive, you're going to drive everyone as hard as possible, but off track, you're all friends, and that's part of the spirit here. I've got one more question for you, and that is kind of, you alluded to it. You were, I guess, tarnished with this brush of having a bit of an attitude, being a bit aggressive a lot of the time, and especially from online races as well. What do you think is the main factor for you to help kind of push that away? Is it just, have you really sat down and thought, I've got this reputation for a reason, how do I get rid of it? How did you approach that?
Well, I've just been seeing that many people have taken to make my life a lot harder when they've given feedback on how I drive. They've put in a lot of negativity in that, and I don't see that as a bad thing. I'm like, okay, thank you. I'll take that. I'll work on it. And next time, I'll try and prove you wrong, or I'll try and make you happy that I'm driving, that I'm getting those good positions, but I'm doing it nice and clean. Basically, just doing a lot of introversial reflection, and every day, in every way, I'm just getting better and better. So hopefully next year, I can fight.
I feel like that's a song. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm making that up.
It's a saying.
Well, thank you so much, Cody. Great to hear from you. Again, congratulations on the second place. Then we come down our line to our third place finisher, Takuma Miyazono. First of all, again, congratulations on the podium in the World Final. Did you think when you first came to the World Tour events earlier this year that you would be sitting here now, on the podium at a World Tour in Monaco?
はい、ありがとうございます。そうですね。この場にいられるってことはもちろんとても嬉しいですけど、サルトのレースでちょっと自分とその相手のレースを台無しにしてしまったのがすごく残念なので、自分の中でその引くべきところで引けなかったっていうのがちょっと自分で自分にがっかりしているところではあります。
Yeah, so thank you very much. Of course, it is really amazing that I got to third place in the World Final. But in the Saturday course, I was a little bit disappointed. I made that error. And I couldn't really show my best this time. So it's something that I need to work on as well.
Well, I'll give you a nice short question. We know you have supreme speed. What do you work on next year to be sitting where Mick is sitting?
そうですね、速さももちろん足りない部分ではあると思うんですけど、自分の中でまだバトルにおいてどこで引けばいいだとか、どこでその追い抜きをしたらいいだとか、そういう部分がまだまだ未熟だなと思っているので、来年に向けてそのあたりを練習で培っていければいいかなと思っています。
Yes, so yeah, I do have speed, but I'm still working on that. But what I think the point I really need to change is where and when to get into the battles, when to avoid the battles. So it's something that for next year I'm going to look at, and hopefully I'll come back stronger.
Well, thank you so much, Miyazono. Again, we hope to see you back again next year. Now, we have, I think, one more order of business to attend to, which is our Michelin driver of the day. Can you guess who it is? It is Mikhail Hezau, of course, our winner and Michelin driver. You're going to run out of hats soon, mate. Congratulations, Mick. I'm not really quite sure what to say than other than I think that it is definitely wholly deserved. Do you have anything to say for the guys at home now? You know, you had, I think it said the lowest point for you, New York, I think, and there's a lot of comments that came out of that for both ways. Do you have anything to say to those people now that you're sitting here, driver of the day and the winner?
As I said before, I still can't believe that I ended up being the world champion here, and as well as getting the Michelin driver of the day. But like after the New York incident, if you can say, I was trying to improve and think about like what Miyazono-san said before, like when to avoid a battle or when to attack, and basically think about the strategy too. Like because of my laziness, if you can say, I was only trying out one strategy because I didn't want to spend so many hours like trying out different strategies if they work. But then after the New York race, I had to start working different strategies, and then yeah, in the end, what can I say? Everything worked out very well. And as for the qualifying, I was almost scared because my second lap, which should have been the fastest one, obviously, but I did so many mistakes there. And then when I started from pole, it was like, okay, let's think about how to defend maybe. And then, yeah, trying to think for each race, not think about the last race, but think about each race, like to perform well on that race only, so that you can think about the next one after that. So, yeah, like, what can I say? Thank you, Polyphony Digital, for organizing the amazing FIA Gran Turismo Championship, as well as me being able to meet so many amazing people here, as well as my friends here, getting also a podium. Next year, that will be yours. And
we'll see.
And also to Miyazono-san, Team Subaru. And yeah, thank you.
You have to come back and win the manufacturer's one next time, won't you, if you want to take Team Subaru to the top. Well, again, a massive, massive thank you to all of our podium sitters here. Of course, it's really great to hear the sentiments there about you know, sportsmanship and being friends off track. But now, talking of sportsmanship, we're going to head over now to back to the desk with series producer Kazunori Yamauchi and Tom Brooks.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Jimmy. Thanks to our top three competitors. We're here with Yamauchi-san, the series producer of Gran Turismo. Yamauchi-san, just talk us through this evening. How are you feeling? What are your thoughts after the Nations Cup World Final here tonight?
2年目のシーズン終わろうとしているわけですけれども、もうレースのレベルがもうどんどん上がっていって、今日のワールドファイナルっていうのはね、ちょっともう本当に見ていてヒリヒリするぐらい、ものすごいレベルの高いレースを毎回見せてくれて、感激しています。
Yeah, you know, I think we're in our second season and year of racing, and the level of racing has gone up so high since we first started. You know, and here at the World Final, you know, you can feel the tension in the air, and you can feel just the level that they're racing on now.
Fantastic. So 2020, surely it's going to be bigger and better than ever.
じゃあ2020年さらに大きくさらに良くなるんでしょうね。
まずね、僕ミカエルを祝福したいんですね。このウィークエンドのミカエルは本当にパーフェクトゲームだったんですよ。一つもミスをしてない、全部勝っている、一番速くて、一番ガソリンも使ってなくて、なんかとにかくすごかったんですね。だからそれをまずはもう伝えたい。本当におめでとうと言いたいです。
Yeah, I really just want to just congratulate Mikhail as soon as I can, because I mean this was a perfect game for him this weekend. You know, he was the fastest. He used the least amount of gas. He was incredible. He just made no mistakes. You know, and I just really want to just congratulate him.
Well, as if on cue, let's invite Mikhail Hazal up to the stage. Mikhail, come and close the show with us, because I think Yamauchi-san wants to say a big congratulations to you after your incredible performance here tonight. Your arm's probably aching after holding that all evening, but there we go.
Congratulations. Really, congratulations.
Goodness me. Well, that was an absolutely fantastic event. Well, thank you for joining us for the Nations Cup World Final here in 2019 in Monaco. Thank you to Yamauchi-san for joining us. Huge congratulations to our 2019 Nations Cup World Champion, Mikhail Hazal. Thank you to you for joining us at home as well. We'll see you bigger and better than ever in 2020 for the FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships.
When it comes up.